Welcome to the February 4th, 2021 meeting of the Southampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals. This meeting is being held via video teleconferencing in accordance with Governor Cuomo's Order 202.1. And until further notice, all of the board's meetings will be held remotely. So we ask the public to continually check the town's website for updates and new information. There are also options on the website for public comments and to pre-register to speak on public hearings. So please consider that for all future meetings. If you wish to view tonight's live meeting only, please do not join the Zoom meeting. Please go to the town's meeting portal, choose the meeting group from the drop-down on the left, and click on the live link at the top of the page. If you wish to be heard during a meeting but did not pre-register, please go to the town's meeting portal, choose the meeting group from the drop-down on the left, and you will find the information required to join the Zoom meeting. With that, I'd ask you that we all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will be starting this meeting with public hearings. We have applicants and members of the public standing by via Zoom webinar, which is being moderated by CTV. Charles Certain will mute the speakers until it is their time to give testimony before the board. Please be patient. If you find that you're having difficulties accessing the hearings, please visit the town clerk's meeting portal and click on the instructions link. Also, there are a few public hearings that will not be heard tonight, being that they're going to be adjourned. So please listen to hear when they will be rescheduled for. A reminder that applicants, agents, and members of the public speaking, other than attorneys, will be sworn in, will state their address for the record, and will offer their testimony as it relates to the application before the board. Board members who must recuse themselves from any application will state so on the record and will be removed from the meeting until the end of the hearing. Unless otherwise stated at the end of each hearing, all of these applications will remain open for written comments for all purposes until March 8th, 2021. Those comments can be addressed to the board's secretary, Candace, and sent via email, mail, and/or dropped off at Town Hall. Additionally, in accordance with Governor Cuomo's order, these hearings will be recorded and will be posted on the town's website. Well, before I make a motion to approve the minutes, I also just want to mention that Anthony Tressa is here from the planning department to give us his comments on any application he wishes tonight. And thank you for that, Anthony. Okay, so I would next move that we approve, or I would ask, make a motion that we approve the minutes of our last meeting.
Second.
So,
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill.
I wasn't present at the last meeting, but I brought myself up to speed with the meeting. Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly. And
Sorry, I was muted. Aye.
aye. Thank you. And Chair votes aye. I also want to congratulate Cornelius on his reappointment to our board.
No, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. And with that, we will get started with adjournments.
Okay, there is some changes to the agenda. The first one we have is going to be item 9 on the agenda, which is Ed Burke Jr. and Patricia Burke. That's going to be adjourned to our March 18th meeting.
Do we have a second?
And
Second.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
aye,
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
item 10 on the agenda, which is MRB, IC, BC, LLC. I'll move that we adjourn that to our March 4th meeting.
Second.
Second. Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Tuthill first.
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Item 12 on the agenda, which is 135 New Light LLC. I'll move that we adjourn that to our February 18th meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tuthill,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And on the decision calendar, Flying Point Sands LLC, move to reopen to accept written submissions.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tuthill,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Now I move to close.
Reopen.
Yeah, but I want to close it so we can have a determination.
Yep.
Tonight.
Second motion. Okay. All right,
Yes.
close. We're accepting the written subs and closing for decision later tonight. Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Tuthill,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
And then still on the decision calendar, Elizabeth Hazen and David and Robin Santora. I'll move to adjourn those two decisions to our February 18th meeting.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Going back to the beginning of the agenda now. Item one on the agenda is Eugene Miozzi, Emil Trotter applicant, 55 Squires Avenue in East Cork, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-318-1-57. Applicant requests the following relief from the provisions of the town code. 330-11, residential districts table of dimensional regulations for a proposed two-story dwelling on a non-conforming lot. 1, a principal front yard setback of 34 feet where 40 feet is required from the northerly property line, Squires Avenue, and a principal front yard setback of 33 feet where 40 feet is required from the westerly property line, Ocean Avenue, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. For Eileen,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
yep,
but we
can you
can't
try to
see
share
you.
your video?
I unmuted myself, not sure how to share my video.
I will,
Start video, maybe on the bottom?
I can help you.
Thank you.
There
There I am.
you go.
Perfect.
Okay, good evening. So Eileen, I just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney. If you can state your name and address, please.
Eileen Rowan, 80 Wedgewood Drive, Coram, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can tell us about the application.
All right. Good evening, Chairman and board members. This application is for the proposed construction of a single-family dwelling. It is modest in size, footprint of approximately 1,500 square feet, and that includes the garage. The lot is a single and separate lot with relaxation from the underlying zoning for the rear and side yard setbacks. No relaxation for the front yard setbacks. This is a corner lot, therefore the parcel has 2 front yards, 1 rear yard, and 1 side yard. We are asking for a variance for 2 front yards from 40 feet required setback to 34 and 33 feet. Corner lots typically can be challenging to develop without some relief from the zoning board. With regard to the front yard setback to Ocean Avenue, we are requesting 33-foot setback. If the dwelling were to be located further away from the front property line and conforming to the front yard setback, the dwelling would pierce the pyramid on the 1 side yard by approximately 627 cubic feet. As proposed, the dwelling does not pierce the pyramid. It would also move the dwelling closer to Squires Avenue, requiring a greater front yard setback on that side relaxation as the lot is not square. Further, the dwelling to the east of this property is very close to the property line, perhaps 10 feet away. That may be more uncomfortable if we moved in that direction. With regard to the front yard setback to Squires Avenue, it is approximately in line with the dwelling to the west on the other side of Ocean Avenue. Further, this leaves a 38 yard setback, which is the relaxation allowed under the non-conforming lot ordinance. Additionally, the applicant is hoping in the future to install an in-ground swimming pool in the rear yard. The lot to the south of this subject parcel has a similar front yard setback to Ocean Avenue. Doing a quick calculation on the Suffolk County GIS map, 57 Ocean Avenue to the south has about a 29-foot front yard setback, 57 Squires to the west, approximately 28, 54 Squires, 34 feet, and 61 Ocean, 32. There have been a few zoning board of appeals approvals in the area granting similar variances. The northwest corner of Squires Avenue and Shinnecock Avenue granted 25 front yard setback, 25 foot. South side of Pine, west side of Shinnecock was granted a 30-foot setback. Northwest corner of Seashore Avenue and Beach Street was granted 30 feet and 25 feet front yard setbacks. East side of Seashore Avenue, 160 feet north of Hampton Street, was granted a 30-foot front yard setback. I have Secretary an aerial that indicates approximately the location of the dwelling. It was a very primitive drawing, but it shows that the house that we're proposing is in line with the adjoining properties to the west and to the south. The applicant and his wife, Ashley, are a young couple recently married. Luckily for them, a few months before the COVID situation. Ashley grew up in Quogue and is a Quogue Village police officer. They look forward to raising a family in the area. Presently, they are living with their parents. One last note, this house was designed based on a conversation with town staff indicating certain setbacks based on a portion of the code that it was later determined that this property did not qualify for and therefore would require variances to be developed. This neighborhood is comprised of lots all varying sizes, bigger and smaller than the subject lot. Many of the dwellings do not conform to the front yard setback requirements. The relief requested in this application, I believe, is in conformance with the surrounding area. As there are ZBA approvals in the area, this would not be precedent setting if the board would consider granting the requested relief. Does the board have any questions for me?
You heard from many of the neighbors?
Am I familiar with the neighbors? No, I am.
Have you heard from them?
No, I have not heard from any neighbor.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to mention, this is modest relief, so we'll see if any of the neighbors are here, but I see this as modest relief. However, we did get a comment from the building department. This is Marjorie Riley, building inspector. I think they want to verify that the elevations and the information provided on the pyramid diagram is accurate. I could read the whole thing for you, but here's what it says. Well, I'll read the whole thing for you. The elevation shall be revised to indicate the average natural grade used to draw the pyramid lines shown in the pyramid diagram prepared by Angelo Nicosia, dated April 23rd, 2020. The architect or New York State licensed design professional shall calculate the average natural grade by using the spot elevations as shown in the survey prepared by Harold F. Transon Jr., last dated August 6, 2020, and draw the pyramid line from all property lines using the grade plane as applied to the subject structure on the lot. Note, the average elevation, the setbacks for the property line, and amount of encroachment cubic feet must be indicated on the pyramid drawing. This method will establish a grade plane and form the basis for calculating the volume of encroachment. The applicant shall submit this information in order to verify the accuracy of the diagram and pyramid calculations. In addition, the elevation shall also be revised to indicate the overall height of the proposed dwelling using the same average natural grade in order to confirm compliance with height regulations. So I think they want you to amend the submission. But I would if you could reach out to Marjorie Riley just to make sure, whatever you're going to be, whatever the changes are going to cover what she's looking for.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of members of the board or Katie of Eileen? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who is waiting to be heard on Zoom this evening in connection with the application of Miozi? This is for 55 Squires Avenue in East Quogue. If you would like to be heard, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
We should be looking for Arthur. Oh, no, maybe that's wrong. I'm sorry. Forget it.
I see no hands.
No hands. Okay. All right. Then, Jason, it's yours.
What's our written submission and decision dates?
Uh,
Decision, what, 3/18?
Yeah, 3/8 is the written subs, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will make a motion to close the public hearing for, and leaving it open for written submissions until March 8th, and we will have a decision for you on March 18th.
Second.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for hearing us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, item 2 on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, is John Lucas Jr. That's supposed to be Brian Zapp. I don't believe he's on with us yet.
Yes, I am.
No, Brian DeSessa?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's John Lucas.
Yep, nope, we were just looking for one of our board members.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You want to
That's okay.
proceed? Somebody, I'll grab the app, all right? Mr. Grossman?
Yes,
All right, so item 2 is John Lucas Jr., 8 Noyak Avenue in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-3-1-12.4. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed 22 by 17 accessory building pool house. 1, 330-11, residential districts table of dimensional regulations for an accessory distance from a street setback, front yard of 20 feet where 50 feet is required, and yards to allow the accessory building pool house to be located in the required front yard for the principal building and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction. I just want to hold on for 1 second. Because we did, when I was looking for somebody before, is there anybody named Arthur and Sharon Lyco or Lico on Zoom? I just wanted to make sure they weren't waiting for public hearing number 1.
They were here and they disappeared.
Okay.
They
They're
were-
not on anymore?
They were here in the beginning, but they left before.
And they didn't raise their hand, they didn't raise their hands to speak?
No, they left before that.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
No problem.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Lucas.
yes.
Yes, I'm seeking a variance on this property. It's Northampton Shores, which is.
1 second. Wait, wait.
Mr. Lucas, I have to, unless you're an attorney, I have to swear you in,
Oh, okay.
okay? So if you can
I'm not
state
an attorney.
your name and address, please.
John Lucas, 8 Noyak Avenue West, Sag Harbor, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. If you can tell us about the application.
Okay, it's in Northampton Shores, which is a private community with private roads. I built this house in 2006. It's on 1 acre property and it basically is on a corner, so I have 3 front yards. So I'm seeking relief for a front yard setback, which in reality is my side yard. That relief, it stated that it was 20 feet setback from the property line, but I could go 25 feet setback from the property line instead of 20. So basically, it's a small outbuilding, 1 story, and it will be right next to my pool. Oh, whoop, that's it.
Yep.
No, I have no opposition from any neighbors whatsoever.
Okay, well, we do have some building department comments, so I'll get to that in a second. But the first thing I just wanted to mention is that the lot size is slightly over 40,209 square feet, although it's not shown that way, shown in the survey. So it's a big lot. So I know there may be questions from members of the board, whether there's any other location where you could put the pool house that doesn't require the relief of 15 to 20 feet. Mr. Lucas?
Yes?
Yeah, so I just had a question, whether there was any other location.
Not really, no. And in fact, this location is basically all along tree lined. You can't barely see the location from the road at all. Most of the property is tree lined, large fir trees around the entire property. and you can barely see where this proposed building would be. The backyard is, the neighbor is too close, his property line with the pool. And the side yard, the other side yard is the exact same situation.
Okay.
It's considered a front yard as well.
Yes, no, the fact that you have 3 front yards makes it very challenging, and I appreciate that. But I just wanted to ask the question. So, I know you indicated previously that all the neighbors are in favor. Do you get anything in writing from them, or do you communicate with them verbally?
Verbally and in writing. I have, in that packet, I have a lot of affidavits that they
Yes.
signed even last year in
That's
favor of.
correct. We got a submission with a whole bunch of neighbors. Yeah.
Supporting it, yes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, okay, excellent. Okay, well, in my view, 22 feet proposed, let me see, the setback 50 feet to 20 feet, arguably might have an impact on a neighbor, but the thing is that the neighbor, at least the relief, I believe, is from Park
Park
Avenue.
Avenue.
Yeah,
Yes,
as opposed
Yeah.
to a property line. So that's a plus. I want to also just read, before I forget, the building department comments. So I'm just going to read them in. This is from Marjorie Riley, building inspector. I'm not sure if you previously, John, got a copy of this worksheet that we get in connection with the applications, but I'm just going to read it into the record. 1, the survey shall be revised to indicate the following. The 2005 subdivision information. 2, the lot area, square footage on the property, and 3, the total lot coverage percentage, existing and proposed. 2, compliance with Town Code 330-103 corner clearance shall be met prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy or certificates of compliance. Otherwise, variance relief will be required. 3, the outdoor barbecue/kitchen requires a building permit. 4, the removal of the spa requires a building permit. 5, the plans prepared by Siulu Architect dated March 17, 2020 show a kitchenette in the proposed pool house. Town Code Section 335 definitions, accessory use building or structure states in part, the term accessory building shall not include any building with sleeping and or cooking facilities or used for sleeping and or cooking purposes. The applicant shall confirm what will be included/installed within the kitchenette area.
no, I never received that, but I would conform with all their requests.
Okay. Okay.
He
Well,
probably should go see Marjorie.
yeah, you definitely should talk to Marjorie. You definitely should do that, John. And also, when I looked at the survey, I was looking for the lot area and I couldn't find it. So when I saw the comments, I realized it wasn't just me. It wasn't on the survey. So the survey is going to need to be revised. We know that much.
Okay,
but-
that's no problem either.
Yeah. Anyway, definitely speak with Marjorie.
Her last name is Riley?
Marjorie Riley, building inspector.
Okay.
All right. Are there
But
any
the
other
other thing
questions?
is, you're showing a 20-foot setback on that survey, because you have it up there. I said we could change that to 25 feet.
Yeah. If you'd be willing to do that,
Yes, because that's all that's necessary, is 25 feet. I don't
25.
need, 20 is not necessary, it's 25.
Okay, then we just need the survey revised to reflect the new location.
Okay. That's not a problem either.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from members of the board?
Yes, in terms of this kitchenette,
That would be eliminated.
okay. And all the, do you remember the other comments?
Yes.
The
something
outdoor
about-
barbecue, requires a
Yeah.
building permit, are you eliminating that one too?
No, I'll get a permit on that.
You
I
have-
I took the hot tub out because I didn't need it with the pool.
Okay, so in terms of the barbecue kitchen, you said you have a building permit or you're getting the building?
I will
permit?
get one.
Okay, all right, you're gonna get that. And the removal of the spa requires a building permit. Did you get that?
No,
Gotta get that too.
I will.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of issues that I think have to be done before, I think we close the public hearing. I like to um, these issues resolved.
It can also be conditions of a decision as well, if that, if that works, Helen. The decision can be conditioned upon all of those things.
All right,
As long as you get
I will conform with all that they.
time. Yes.
Mr. Lucas, I recommend you talk to Marjorie. That's what I recommend. All right?
Okay.
Anybody from the public here, Adam?
Is anyone from the public, well, any other questions, members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who is waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Lucas? This is for 8 Noyak Avenue West in Sag Harbor. If you are waiting to be heard on Zoom, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
I see no hands.
Okay. All right. If not, Keith, it's yours.
All right, seeing and hearing no one, I'll move to close the public hearing, leaving it open for written submissions to March 8th with a determination on March 18th.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, so we're going to item 3 on the agenda, which is Wilbur Hanson.
Hanson.
Okay, sorry. 753 County Road 39, Tuckahoe, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-158-1-8. Applicant appeals the decision of the building inspector dated September 24, 2020, as provided in Town Code 330-165A, appeals on interpretation of zoning law and map, in that the proposed 24 by 46 garage addition to the existing dwelling on a non-conforming lot is not permitted pursuant to Town Code 330-97, supplemental regulations for private garages and off-street parking areas in resident districts. In the alternative, applicant requests relief from 330-94, schedule of off-street parking space requirements for residential uses, and/or 330-97 to allow for the construction of the proposed garage addition and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening, Gina. You can state your name and address, please.
Gina Rigdon, DKR Shores, 235 Trapwork Lane, Aquabog, New York, 11901.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Always.
Thank you. You can tell us about the application.
Okay, this is Wilbur Hanson. I'm sure everyone maybe has heard of him or from him. He owns the Southampton Golf Range, almost sort of diagonally adjacent across County Road 39. This is his sort of personal family house, but it is in a highway business zone. It's right on Highway 39, County Road 39. Obviously, pretty well-traveled district, and it is a corner lot on Tuckahoe Lane as well. I have been before the board in the past to build private garages for Mr. Hanson for storage. In this before the board and those decisions in the past, basically, not that I want to quote, but I'll quote, that the board has said, well, he can have as many garages as he wants, as long as they're all less than 25% of the size of the house. Okay, fine. So we've done that in former decisions. He needs more room. He has a workshop. He works on some old cars. He needs some storage. He uses the cars as props. Not all of these garages, by the way, have cars in them. There's no cars actually parked on the outside. So it's mainly a workshop for his personal use and overflow of products for the establishment commercial facility across the street. I've spent so long trying to design this within required setbacks for front yard and side yard. And basically, honestly, him putting another garage that's, that's small. A, we'd have to do another curb cut, and B, simply, it just would look like shit. Excuse my French. So, so as the board has stated before, a million times and a million times over, attach it to the house, attach it to the house, attach it to the house, which we've done. And so it looks nice as an addition attached to the house. Bonus, we're actually closing off a driveway that's very dangerous. So it's a secondary driveway. Closing that off. And then a bonus that we're upgrading an antiquated sanitary system at the same time. So I'd like to ask for any relief necessary under the zoning chapters. This is kind of a new one for me. I didn't expect to get rejected after doing all of this work about parking, and the man actually only really owns one car. It's a red and black old 80s Bronco that he drives around incessantly and refuses to get rid of. There's no cars parked in the lot. There's no off-street parking. The entire property is hedged beautifully and screened. There's a parking lot across the street. There's a contracting office, Morton building right next door. It's a highway business zone. This isn't even residential zoning. So on behalf of Mr. Hansen, I would like an exemption or a waiver or something to be able to do an addition so this man could live a happy life.
Okay, so you're looking for either us reversing the determination of the building inspector and finding that it is permitted, or looks like variance relief for off-street parking. At least that's the way in which it was written.
Or something like that. There's no off-street parking. It's a number of cars per bedrooms, but it's not a residential property. So this is a new one for me.
Yeah. So I presume that he has a need, the owner has a need for a lot of garage space.
Well, he has a teeny tiny house and he has absolutely no room for storage.
Mm-hmm.
He's also got garages on the property already, no?
He does, and they're all filled, completely filled.
All filled, he drives an old Ford Bronco.
And he drives a one old Ford Bronco, and that's the only car that's ever in the driveway.
24 by 46 edition.
Right. It's more a workshop than anything.
What'd you say to the other garages?
I think he's got 2 old cars in one of them, and a lot of the stuff is sort of storage from the golf range that's across the street. I've never seen any of the old cars, to be honest with you. I've been to this house many times, and no car is ever parked outside, so it's never an eyesore. I've only seen the old Bronco. That's it. And some of the old cars, I did see 1 or 2. They actually are on the golf range though, and it's like an old, like Nathan's garage, like Nathan's hot dog truck.
Yeah, I saw
that
the old
kind of thing.
The old panel truck out there. Nice advertisement.
So they're kind of like advertisement sort of props, but it's his hobby. And, he's a benefit to the community, and the ice rink is amazing, and it brings in business, and it's quaint. It looks cute. So if he needs somewhere to put his Nathan's hot dog truck, I'm all for that.
I'm just surprised he doesn't want more living space.
He's a very humble man, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I would think so too. But his kid has a kid, and he's out of the house, so he doesn't really need it. And he's only up here part-time. He lives in Florida, and right now I think he's in the hospital again. He's had heart problems, and he doesn't ask very much, but he gives so much to this world. And he asks for nothing really in return. He just wants to give joy to people. So,
How many parking spaces is he entitled to have?
he is, you know what, Katie, this is dunce for me again, because this isn't, it's a highway business property where a house is still on it. So there's 2 bedrooms, so he's allowed, I can't even say, but because I'm not even sure I'm correct in assuming he's allowed 4 spaces because it's technically a residence, but it's a highway business zone parcel that still has a
Okay,
house.
so he has 2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms.
Okay, so he's entitled to 2 parking. And you don't, how many are allowed, how many can fit in all of the other garages?
1 car in each. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 cars and I guess he's allowed to park in the driveway, maybe 1, but so that is 4 cars.
Well, that's
like-
the analysis that the board has to make. I mean, that's,
Yeah. So it's
unless you're gonna map out these garages with no areas for cars, that's why it was flagged by the building department.
I totally understand. Like I said, this is like dunce for me. This is a new one. This is more an interpretation of a really super gray area in town code.
If this was living, Gina, if this was living space, would you need any relief or you'd be fine?
No, I wouldn't need any relief. It's within setbacks. I specifically designed it, so it didn't need any relief. That was the whole point.
I mean, from my perspective, for that reason, and coupled with the fact that you're getting rid of a very dangerous driveway opening up on a County Road 39, I don't have an issue with it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a
really bad driveway.
little quirky. A guy wants more garage and living space. That's the opposite of what we almost always see.
Yeah.
But I don't have an issue with it.
But it looks like a lovely addition, and a bigger. It looks like a bigger house. I mean, you can't even tell it's going to be a workshop in there.
Right, and it's attached to the house, like we always say.
Right, it's attached to the house. If there's big arborvitaes in the front, you can't even see it from the highway. It's completely screened. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in landscaping. It's really very pretty what he did. It's quaint.
It is a unique situation.
It is. It is. So I do need the board's help on this because it's, like I said, it's a new one for me.
Did you read the letter from Sean McDermott dated September 24th?
I have the letter. I have a letter from August 28th. I don't have if you could read it to me.
Well, it's giving the reasons why they're not willing to give a building permit.
No, I have that denial letter. I have one dated August 20.
I'm talking about September 24th.
Oh, wait, yes, okay.
That's the denial.
Yeah, I do have that. A dwelling unit shall not have more than 1 vehicle for each conventional bedroom plus 1 parked at night. But once again, this isn't a residential parcel. It's highway business, and not more than 2 parking spaces per rented. No one's rented or living there, but he's allowed it. So he's technically allowed.
He's allowed 2 per
He's allowed
2 per dwelling unit, plus
Right.
1 additional for each bedroom over 3, which he doesn't have.
Hold on. And commercial. He doesn't have any commercial vehicles there. Sorry. There's only 1 vehicle parked on the property at night, and that's part-time. There's no off-street parking. And it specifically states, like, this particular 330-97 specifically is for private garages in residence districts, and this isn't a residence district. So once again, I'm at a loss here.
Yeah, but as it also says, it also applies to 330-94, which talks about to, I mean, Cornelius, it's whether or not the board is okay with it, but the town code
Right.
also talks about residential uses.
Yeah, and I think that they're allowed to, I looked up a little bit more under some of your other chapters, 330s, like 330, 100 and exemptions and waivers for space and parking requirements. The board is able to grant. They're also under 330-167, specific types of variance with respect to non-conforming uses, buildings, structures, and lots. They can grant it under that as well. Like I said, it's kind of a really gray area because it's a highway business district and there's still a house on it. But I think we've done it tastefully. I mean, I think it warrants the board's consideration. I think it's needed. I don't think it's obtrusive. I think it fits in with the character of the, neighborhood. Nicer than the condos across the street. It's nicer than the parking lot next door with all the boats parked in the parking lot. So, I like I said, I beg for consideration for this.
Yeah, and it's always a bit of a challenge when residences next to businesses.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's another, consideration. I mean, if this were a residential community where it was residences all, all surrounding this property, that's one thing. But this is the business corridor. So that's another, another aspect of this. Is
right.
that kind of the, reverse of what would be normally be on County Road 39, at least in this situation.
Correct. I mean, in highway business, he's allowed to park, a lot more cars than, what he's allowed to in a house. So, I'm not really sure, but I'm sure the board has an ability to grant relief under one of these provisions.
We do.
Yep, you do. You definitely do.
Mhm.
So, and I think this is a good one. I think this is worth it.
And see if there's any public comment to it.
Yep. Any other questions from members of the board? Is there any other, is there anyone from the public who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Hanson? This is for 753 County Road 39 in Southampton. If you'd like to be heard, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
I see no hands, Adam.
Okay, thank you, Charlie. If not, Keith, it is yours.
Okay, seeing it here, no one, then I'll move to close the public hearing. Leaving it open for written submissions to 3/8 with a determination on 3/18. Kate, you gotta make sure that we condition, that the entrance, the access from County Road 39 is conditioned in the decision if we do it, okay?
Yep.
All right,
All right,
that's my motion. That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you, board. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Tuthill,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
I'm at a loss to who to bring in next.
Steve Kiley, I think.
Not here.
Okay.
You can second.
Skip
Oops. You can second call that case. He's not here yet.
Okay.
He's gonna let me know when he gets here.
Okay, we'll second call item 4 on the agenda, which is Calia. And then we'll go to item 5, which is Frank Freddy, 201 Springville Road, Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-293-5-18. Applicant requests relief from the following provisions of the town code for a proposed 2-lot subdivision. 1, for proposed lot 1, 330-11 residential districts table of dimensional regulations for a lot width of 111.59 feet where 120 feet is required. And 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts. And 330-83C, yards, to legalize a concrete patio constructed in the required minimum side yard of the principal building without the benefit of a building permit. And 2, for the proposed lot 2, 330-11 for a lot width of 126.86 feet, where 120 feet is required, and 330-82 lot width to allow a road frontage of 33.79 feet, where a minimum of 40 feet is required, and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Evening.
For Lou?
Yes.
Yes.
I just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney. If you can state your name and address, please.
Louis Puccio, One Country Lane, Hampton Bays, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. If you can tell us about the application.
They're splitting the property from road to road, Coolidge Road from Springville. They want to split it down the middle and propose a house to be built in the back, on the back road, and open up that Coolidge Road here in the back.
Okay. So I had a question. Maybe you can help me with.
That's it?
I'm trying to understand why lot width relief for lot 2 is requested at 126.86, at least in the advertising, when conforming is 120 feet.
Thank you.
There must be a missing measurement somewhere.
It must be a mistake.
Must be a mistake. So I would imagine it's less than 120 feet. I couldn't tell off of the survey what the measurement is. I mean, at one point at the top, you can see it's 126.99, but we have a 126.86, but you would need relief if it were less than 120 feet, and it appears to be more on the survey. Actually, at the bottom, it says 125.74, but again, it's more than 120 feet.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that you need that relief.
Okay.
Candace, am I missing something?
Well, that's why I had,
No, well, I have to go back to my screen.
Okay.
Hold on a minute.
that's why I stumbled for a minute as I was reading it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So no, there is, well, it appears to be a mistake on lot number 2.
Yeah.
He doesn't, if it's 120, he doesn't need it for this one here on lot number 2 because it's 126, but he would
Correct.
need it for lot 1
You would
because
need
at
for
the
lot
front
1.
yard setback, it is
Yes.
111.59.
Correct. Okay. So he does not, you don't need relief, lot width relief for lot 2, but you'll still need road frontage relief for lot 2.
Perfect.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Anyway, so I understand what you're looking to do. You're looking to do a subdivision. There are lots in the vicinity, not the lot next door to the east, but lots in the vicinity that are of a similar size as what's being proposed.
Yes.
And I do want to ask you about the concrete patio. How it was constructed without a building permit.
That was there for, I think there was a bond or something on a long time ago. And that's what's left. They took down the bond and left that there.
Okay. Do we know who put up the concrete patio?
It's going back. From what I understand, it's going. I don't know what the hell's going on here. It was built, I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. And they took the barn down because it was falling apart. And then the concrete they left.
Okay. So the owner, the reason I'm asking about this is because whenever we have as-built structures, we want to know how they went up. Waiting for Mr. Puccio to come back.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I wanted to ask whether the owner has any information.
The owner is here.
Okay,
If
okay,
he,
that's fine, then we can ask. No
yeah,
problem. Okay, very good.
maybe he can raise his hand so he can come up on the screen.
What's his name?
Peter Freddy.
Okay. One second. I got him. Okay, he's coming in. You're gonna start your video.
Maybe they're having trouble getting in.
Having some trouble.
Yeah.
Start your video.
It's an old property, Adam, just so you know. Old man Fred Waters owned that property before Frank Freddy got his hands on it. Old man Fred Waters, he owned the Coach for years. There was a little bungalow behind the main house up on Springville. And that concrete slab's been there a long time.
He knows more than me.
Okay, just want to hear from the owner about it, that's all.
Adam, if I may, just real quick while we're waiting.
Sure.
Just so you know, the planning board actually has a pending 4-lot subdivision that involved this piece and the property next door. My understanding is that they're eliminating that other property and are just moving forward with a 2-lot subdivision. So we're going to be amending our report, obviously, to reflect our comments because there's joint accesses. We're a lot of things going on, but with the planning board is going to have to amend our report and get that to you. So I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, greatly appreciate the information. Thank you.
And Lou, come in and see me. We'll go over it.
Okay, Ant.
Okay. All right. So, while we're waiting,
Yeah, I don't think he's good. I don't think he's here.
not coming on. Okay.
Lou, did you submit like a character of the neighborhood analysis with the, the size of the neighborhood lots?
No. Most of the lots are half acre around the area. Some are a little bigger.
All right. Well, if you could submit something, a letter on the size of adjacent lots, I think that probably would be helpful information for us to have.
I think on one of the surveys, I guess it doesn't show it. Okay, I can submit a letter.
Okay. I mean, besides that, I have to say that, the lot width relief for proposed, lot 1, modest 120 to 111.59. I'm asking about the concrete patio just to find out what happened. And the only other relief you need is lot width for lot 2, 40 feet to 33.79 feet.
Do we need any relief to go out onto Coolidge Road?
Are you entitled to go onto that road? Is it a private road?
No, it's a regular paved street.
Okay.
Well,
then I think that's just your road frontage variance, right?
Right.
Okay, he's coming on now. They got a different device.
Is there only one house existing on the lot now?
There's no house. Yeah, it was one house on Springville, and there's proposed house in the back on Coolidge Road.
okay, very good.
Okay.
Good evening. Just need you to unmute yourself. We can't
Okay.
hear you. There we go.
Hi, I'm sorry. My computer crashed. So my daughter, who's been studying remotely, luckily she knows how to use Zoom. And so I booted up on hers.
Okay, no worries. Just have to swear you in. If you can state your name and address for the record.
My name is Peter Polina. I'm stepson of Frank Freddy. My address is 111 East 85th Street, New York, New York, 10028.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I was just pretty much just was asking about, there is a concrete patio that's in the side yard on the property that apparently has been there for a very long time and we don't have any permits for it. I wanted to ask whether you had any information about the history of how that went
I
there.
know that there was, I think, prior to my parents purchasing the property in like the 70s, I think that property was built in 1926 or 29. I can't remember the name of the people that had the property. I think it was a Bayman, but I don't remember. Anyway, there might have been an old barn that fell down. And what was just left was the slab of the barn. And that's what's there. It's just a concrete slab.
Okay. So
What do you use it for?
Nothing. Right now, he has a boat on it, which he's trying to sell if anybody's interested in a Grady White.
Do you have any problem removing it?
He could, if he had to. You see, we had to send a check for another $750, just thinking that before the board meeting, it would be the quickest and least expensive thing was just to pay that extra $750 for an unapproved structure. Because in order to get that thing removed before this meeting, we'd have to have the slab broken up and taken away and et cetera, et cetera.
You could do it after the meeting, is that
Oh,
right?
of course.
Okay, you wouldn't have a problem with that.
No.
Okay.
I mean, my dad likes to keep his boat on it, but if there's a problem with it as far as code or something like that, then if we have to leave it, if we have to get rid of it, get rid of it.
Yeah, and I mean, the alternative is you applying for a permit for it, and I don't know whether, it conforms.
Not gonna build
Well, no,
anything there,
they've asked for a variance, Madam.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Legalize. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're correct, Katie. Yeah, so they've asked you're asking for relief to legalize the concrete patio. That's one.
And now he says he's willing to remove it.
Okay. So do you want to keep the concrete patio?
It would be nice if we could keep it, because see, the whole reason why we're doing this, my dad is 82. He spent all his money on my mom who passed away, because she was bedridden, and now he needs full-time care at the house. So, he's exhausted all his money from my mom, and he needs to sell something in order to be able to pay for the home care. So the least amount of money we could spend, he has no savings left anymore. It's just the property that he has.
Okay. So I'm not sure how, I know Helen wants to have the concrete patio removed. Is there anyone else who wants
I'm
to
not
have
saying, I'm not saying that I want to. I'm just saying if it's not so difficult, because otherwise he would require us to give him a variance. And if it isn't really necessary and he's willing to remove it.
Do you also own the property next door to the west? Is that correct?
The 203, is it?
Yeah, whatever that concrete patio touches a driveway in this property.
Yes.
So that's you guys as well.
Yes.
So you're not harming the neighbor, in other words, by keeping the patio there because you
No.
are that neighbor, right?
That's right. Exactly. That's why there was never any issue about this or, until this point that, until we wanted to do the subdivision.
Gotcha.
We were also,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was also going to say, I mean, based on your testimony, you also would have to prove, but I mean, you're making the argument as well that it's pre-existing non-conforming structure, or part of a structure that was pre-existing non-conforming.
Exactly. It's been there, I mean, as long as I know it, and that's as long as my parents have had the property. Yeah. So
All right.
they never saw any reason to remove it.
I mean, speaking for myself, I don't have an issue with it staying, especially with Keith's history of the property saying it used to be a barn, likely on there. So it's not like you guys built it illegally. You just took possession of it. So I don't have an issue with the concrete patio staying.
I'm okay with it too.
I think Keith's okay with it. You okay with it, Keith?
I am, sir.
Okay, and I'm okay with it. So Helen, are you okay with it?
Uh-huh, yes.
All right.
Anybody from the public?
Yep, okay. Any other questions or members of the board?
I'm sorry, Bob.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard this evening in connection with the application of Freddie? This is for 201 Springville Road in Hampton Bays. If you would like to be heard, this will be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
No,
So, there is a garage there, right? And my father was wondering if he could have access to Coolidge to exit that way rather than having to put a driveway all the way down to Springville Road from there.
Well, you're going to be dealing with the planning board with the subdivision approval, and I think probably that sort of an issue would be something that you would be addressing to the planning board instead of us, road access.
Well, also the building department notes say that the existing driveway shall be reconfigured to show access to each proposed lot. So that does need to be resolved. Anthony, did you have any feedback on the driveways
well,
and the access?
that's exactly what I was saying before, is that, because we were looking at it before as it related to the adjacent property, we had prepared a whole series of comments. So we got to relook at them. But yes, one of them is going to be access. And obviously I don't have all the maps in front of me right now. But I'm happy to sit down with the applicant and the representative, and we could go through the planning issues. Since they already have a pending application before the planning board, we could work them out. And we could certainly present them then to this board.
That would be great. And then if it turns out that the plans are changing in terms of the access roads, sorry, we just need to be revised and we just need to be notified of that.
Yep.
So I don't know that the public hearing necessarily has to be kept open for that purpose, but I think we could do it by written submissions.
all right.
All right. Okay. I had asked before if there was anyone who was waiting to be heard on Zoom. Charlie, was there anyone who raised their hand?
No hands.
No hands. Okay. All right. So I have the lead on this one. So I will move that we close the public hearing except for written submissions until March 8th. And I will have a decision ready on our March 18th meeting.
Second.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly. Cornelius, couldn't hear you.
Aye.
Can hear you. Okay. Ms. Burns. Mr. Tuthill.
I'm an aye.
Okay. Chair votes aye. Thank you both for your being here tonight. Have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Okay, item 6 on the agenda is Matthew Sachs, 557 Mitchell Lane in Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-50-1-8.2. Applicant requests relief from Town Code, 330-76D, placement of accessory building structures and uses in all districts, and 330-83C yards to allow a tennis court to remain within the total side yard for the principal building and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone? Board members. Tara S. Hakimi, 30 Main Street, Southampton, New York, 11968. I'm actually covering this application this evening for Brian Lacazio from the Adam Miller Group, who's on paternity leave. He just had his third child. So I'm covering the application. As the board knows, the property is located 557 Mitchell Lane in Bridgehampton. It's also lot 2 of a subdivision, part of John D. Falkowski subdivision. This application is unique, and I'm going to explain the background on the reason that we're before the board. So the owner and builder submitted plans, which included a site plan and a survey, to the building department to build a single family dwelling, including a pool, a hot tub, garage, finished basement, tennis court, outdoor barbecue, outdoor shower, and a pool house. The permit was issued. I believe the building department has a copy of the zoning board of appeals. You guys have a copy of this permit. It is permit number P084 So this was issued on September 23rd of 2020. Upon the issuance of the building permit, the builder began work on the property, which included pouring the foundation of the house and the garage and framing both structures. There was an amendment to the home, which required the builder to bring the amendment in the plans to the building department. He submitted that in person to the building department. And on that day, the building department realized that they had issued the building permit in an error. The builder was informed that day that they would require a variance for the tennis court, which does meet side yard setbacks, but it does not meet total side yard. Total side yard, the required for total side yard is 75 feet. It is that we are asking for 60 here. So obviously had the owner and builder had they been informed of this in advance prior to the building permit being issued, then they wouldn't have done the work. They wouldn't have poured the foundations. They wouldn't have incurred the great expense. But once they did find this out, they did halt work. They didn't continue the work. They're trying to act in good faith here and come to the zoning board prior to finishing the work, putting in the structures, then, scheduling an inspection, and then coming before the board and asking for relief for an as-built tennis court. So they are trying to do the right thing here. So basically I'm before the board asking for, it's really total side yard setback relief, where 75 is required, we're asking for 60.
Sarah, I had one question for you. What is the size of the tennis court? It doesn't have measurements on the
I
survey.
knew you would ask. So the tennis court is a 60 by 120. I do know that the board usually does like that reduced. Given the very strange situation and circumstances of this application, the reason that we are before the board is as a result, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it is as a result of the building department. And had the owner and builder not have had this building permit, we wouldn't be before the board.
Yeah, but if you came before the board with before the work was done, I would be asking the same question.
We are
Yeah.
We are going to sink the court.
Okay.
We will screen the court if the board would like us to, and we'll condition, if the board's willing to give us the approval for the relief, we will condition the tennis court on the screening and on the sinking of the court.
How about it being 55 by 110?
I mean,
we don't grant variances for tennis courts for anything bigger than 55 by 110.
Okay. I mean, if it's going to come down to that, Adam, then I would, I think the builder and the owner understand. Just to give you guys also a little bit of background, the property to the west, the owners of both, they know one another. So this is not a stranger, the neighbor. But I hear you.
Yep. And I'm really, just that's how we have operated for quite some time with tennis court applications.
Okay.
And I appreciate the fact that the applicant is trying to, rectify a situation that it was not of his doing. The fact that the building permit was issued in error. But on the survey, it says proposed tennis court. So I'm presuming the tennis court hasn't been built already.
Say that. I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
The survey indicates it is a proposed tennis court.
Correct. It's not. It has not been built.
Okay. Okay.
No.
Because I don't want to incur, have the applicant incur a cost here, but
No.
it hasn't been built, and it wouldn't be an extra cost.
I did submit a photograph via email to Candace. I don't know if Candace is able to upload it for you guys to see, just so you're able to see what is currently there on the property right now. I thought that would be helpful.
Okay.
Can you share it, Tara?
Oh, you want me to share? Hold on.
I'm asking if you can. I don't know if
Can I share? I will.
Yes, you can.
I can? Okay, let me see if I can. If I can share, I'm sharing. Hold on.
Thank you for sharing.
This is a new.
Sharing and caring, that's what
Sharing
we're
is
about.
caring, right? I know. Sorry, I just want to pull up, I sent it to Candace earlier, so let me just pull up my email to her. Okay. It's on my screen, so now let me see, how do I share it?
Just hit the green button at the bottom.
Hit the green button at the bottom of my screen. Oh, at the bottom of my Zoom, right?
Yes.
Hold on. Oh my Lord. Okay, green bottom. Wait, at the bottom of my Zoom. Oh, share. Oh, Lord.
Hey.
Okay. So now how do I put it here? Do I have to drop it into that?
No, you should just open it on your screen and then share.
It's open.
Sarah, I think I just found it. Give me a second.
Okay. Oh my. Sorry, guys.
Don't worry about it. Due to extenuating circumstances involved with this application, I think if you just make it 55 by 110, we can move on.
It didn't share.
It didn't share?
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sharing and caring, Charles.
How about now?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine either. Hold on.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
No problem. No pressure.
This is super stressful. Share screen. I mean, I'm sharing it and it's up on my screen and I don't know why it's not showing it. Candace, can you share it? I can't.
Well,
I'm actually trying to find it on my screen.
55 by 110. Let's move on.
give it another minute. Keeps in a big hurry, but we'll give it another minute.
Sorry.
I still want to spend an hour on sharing and caring.
Sorry.
It's going to come down to 55 by 110 anyhow. If it's not built.
No, it's not there yet.
All right, so just change it. Make sure it's got a little screen, sync it, we're good to go.
Okay.
Keith Tuttle. The Pilgrim.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not finding it.
I can't open it. I will, anyway, in any event, it's the house and the garage have both been, the foundations are there, the structures are both there, in essence completed, but the tennis court is not there. You know, the owner and the builder were doing the right thing here. And I have been before the board for as-built, and that's not this case, so.
That is true. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. And Helen, Cornelius, and Jason, you're all okay with
100% okay. 100% okay. It's an unfortunate situation that this wasn't caught in the building department. I think the owner has made a good faith effort here, and so I'm 100% okay with it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, any other questions of members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who's waiting to be heard on Zoom this evening in connection with the application of Saks for 557 Mitchell Lane in Bridgehampton?
Yes.
Okay.
Pamela Harwood.
Yep.
There you go. Just unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Pamela. Just have to swear you in. If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Pamela Harwood, 371 Woodland Drive, Bridgehampton.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. If you can tell us your comments.
Yes, I have a question for the applicant or applicant's representative. When the architectural plans were submitted, the town code has a published residence districts table of dimensional regulations. So when this was submitted, it sounds to me as if the rear yard coverage was not in compliance with that when the plans were submitted in the first place to the building department. Now, I understand that the building department made a mistake in approving the plans, but it sounds like the plans were not conforming. So I don't understand how the applicant has no liability in this.
Well, what do you mean for the rear yard coverage? She's here for the total side yard. The
Yes,
placement of the tennis court on the
If
total
it's
side.
not in compliance, and the building department made a mistake in granting a permit anyway, but it sounds like the plans were not in compliance when they were submitted to the building department, and it sounds like the building department didn't catch that error, but nonetheless, the plans were submitted, they were not conforming to town code to begin with.
Sure, yeah, and that's why she's here.
Right, so I don't understand why this is also cavalier about, well, just build the tennis court to the right size and we're good to go. There is, it wasn't submitted properly to begin with by the applicant. I think there's some culpability there too. Why is this variance being given so freely? Even if the building department mistakenly approved something they shouldn't have approved.
Well, let me just, Pam, let me just
Variance hasn't been given.
Right. And Pam, I just want to explain to you about because it was interesting the last time that you testified in a different public hearing. There was a conversation about hardship. Well, in our 5-part area variance test, there is the 5th part is self-created hardship. This arguably could be a self-created hardship, although I think the applicant's position probably would be that it isn't because it was the building department's error, not the applicant's error. At least that's the argument. But even if it is a self-created hardship, even if that's the case, and we presume that that's the case, the area variance standards say that we cannot deny a variance solely based on an applicant, based on an application where it's a self-created hardship. We can only deny a variance when, besides the self-created hardship issue, it also fails a majority of the rest of the 5-part test.
Right, and which of the rest of the 5-part test does it not fail?
Well, you can feel free to take a look at it. I think I reached the conclusion that the rest of the test is that this particular application, I mean, for the most part, when I look at applications for variances, I'm looking at, in the simplest of terms, the impact on adjacent property owners, the impact on neighbors. And so this is a proposed tennis court that will live up to rear yard lot coverage. It will live up to setbacks. The only thing about it is the location. And the reason the location is an issue is because it's a flag lot. And because it's a flag lot, this is technically a side yard. So the tennis court, in terms of its location, isn't any closer to setbacks than what zoning allows. It's only because it's considered to be in a side yard that they need variance relief. So I would have to conclude, in my view, for me to conclude that a tennis court is going to have a negative impact on the neighbors, to me, at a minimum, it needs to be close enough to the neighbors to have an impact. And this tennis court, other than it being in a side yard, is complying with the code.
Yes, because they're not asking for variances on setbacks, only on rear yard coverage.
No,
not rear yard side. It's total side yard coverage.
It's only being located in a side yard, and that really is primarily because it's a flag. And because there was a mistake. If the building department had denied the applicant or had caught this, then maybe they could have reconfigured it so that the tennis court was in a location where they didn't need variance relief. But that's not what happened here.
So just to give some color here, they did try to put the tennis court more in the rear yard, but it would also require variance relief for rear yard. So,
Yeah. So anyway, but these are all the things that we have to consider, Pam, and I appreciate your you know, your comments on this, because I mean, I try to think these things through. And, sometimes with tennis courts, especially because they're noisy, that always is a concern of mine, in terms of being located. The other thing I want to mention is that it's going to be screened and it's going to be a sunken tennis court. The sinking of the tennis court, my understanding is, does reduce the noise factor. But the fact that it is conforming to setbacks, to me, is of great significance here. The fact that they don't need rear yard lot coverage at all for this tennis court is significant. So what we've got is a tennis court and a side yard instead of a rear yard. And on these flag lots, we often have these issues.
So we have another neighbor,
Yes.
Meredith.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, before we go to the other neighbor, Pam, is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, I think but I have to say, just for the record, I understand everything you're saying. But I think here's a situation where the applicant submitted a plan that was not conforming to town code and the building department didn't catch it. And that's what we're talking about. So now.
Well, the building department
of having to grant something that is really not code.
Yeah, but it could have gone the other way, where they could have come to us before the error was made and still asked for this relief. And all the things I mentioned are, I think would be relevant. I understand what you're saying. It's frustrating. I don't like things. I don't ever like errors to happen, and that being the circumstance where applications come to us. But sometimes
so it's happening too much.
People are humans. People make
There's
mistakes.
another one tonight that has the same issue, and mistakes are given forgiveness. And this mistake originally is on the part of the applicant for submitting a plan that wasn't conforming when the town codes are clearly published. I don't see how an architect submits a plan that doesn't conform. And in this case, the building department didn't catch it. It's happening all too much. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meredith. Good evening.
Good evening. So I'm an attorney. So
yes, I remember.
I actually just have a couple of questions. The first one is, Katie, you said at the very beginning that the ZBA has jurisdiction, but something that came up last time, and I did a little bit of research since, is that before the Zoning Board of Appeals has jurisdiction, they only have original jurisdiction when there's a practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship getting in the way of carrying out the strict letter of this chapter. And so I'm a little confused why applicants are not being asked to show and present their hardship and the difficulty before they're asking and the board is considering the variance. You don't even get to the 5-pronged test you were talking about, Adam, or the point about whether it's self-created or not, if there's not a practical difficulty or hardship. So I'm trying to understand what the practical difficulty or hardship is, both with this one and the other one that's later on the agenda.
I'm not even sure what section of the law you're referring to that talks about practical difficulty or hardship.
33166.
Okay, that's a section of the town code. That's just a section of the town code. Town law gives the board jurisdiction over all appeals, and all of these typical variances that come to the ZBA are appeals from the building department where a permit has been denied. So it's appellate jurisdiction.
Okay, so on this one, the permit has been denied.
Well, this one, the permit was issued and then they realized there was a mistake. So the permit was denied because they need a variance.
So the permit has been revoked.
No, the permit has been stopped until they can get a variance, or if the variance is denied, then the permit has to be modified. When I say the board has jurisdiction, it means that the mailings have been done and the posting has been done. I mean, there's jurisdiction anyways, because, application has been made and an appeal has been made. But when I say the board has jurisdiction, it's in terms of mailing and posting.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just not sure that the process is actually being complied with, where there is the process of first going to the buildings department, getting the denial, and then coming to the ZBA on appeal. It seems more that there are more and more applications being filed that are just assuming they would be denied because they're presenting a non-conforming design, and therefore the ZBA asking for a variance. And the ZBA is supposed to be, zoning ordinances are unique in a way that they're supposed to be a set of regulations that are applied across a bunch of different, types of properties and topographies and accesses and uses. And because of that, when you're granting a variance, that device was created to not unfairly and unjustly burden somebody who, when you're trying to apply that broadly. And what seems to be happening more and more is that that's not what the variance is being used for by this board, that this board is considering it more in the circumstance of, as Adam was saying, it doesn't make sense. Does it burden the neighbor? And that's not really what the question is that's before the board. It's not whether it affects the neighbor. There's a lot more that goes in here, and the zoning laws were created for a reason, and it seems to be a rewriting of those zoning laws using the variance device, and I'm not really sure that's what it was intended for.
Right. Meredith, just so you know, every time we render a decision, that involves the area variance, we go through the 5-part test in the decision itself. So I mentioned impact on neighbor, but it's the full 5-part test, including whether the application is substantial, including the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the neighbor. All of that is part of what we consider the 5-part area variance test.
I understand that. I'm trying to raise a different point, which is the job of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the power that it's tasked with, okay, as a quasi-judicial body, is to enforce the town code and to make sure.
Not at all true. That's not at all true. The board's job is not. The board's job is not to enforce the town code. The board's job is to apply the standards set forth in New York State town law and the town code as it relates to granting variances.
That is what I mean by
enforcement.
enforcement, Katie. That is not, you're taking a very literal term of the for enforcement. I don't mean it go out to the property and issue the stop orders. That is not the ZBA's job. But your job is
I understand what you're saying. You're suggesting that
is it not, right? The zoning board is only supposed to grant an exception or make an allowance when there's a unique circumstance that requires it. To me, if you start granting these exceptions where there's preferences or desires, those are not needs. And there's a big difference between a preference and a need. And it's setting a very troubling precedent. If you look at some of your neighboring zoning boards, they're very strict in following the town code and very strict in granting their variances, because the general rule of thumb is you're supposed to conform, you're supposed to present a conforming design, you're supposed to comply with the setbacks, you're supposed to comply with the area lot coverage.
Yeah, well, Meredith, there are people who are around who think that every application for any variance anywhere in this town should be denied. That we should deny every single variance application that we receive. That's the answer. That we should deny all variances. Okay. So instead, what we do is we try to weigh what's in the 5-part area variance test, which we're required by law to do, and considering applications. Now, you may and other folks may disagree with how the conclusions that we reach in certain instances, maybe in many instances, but this is what we're tasked to do. And it's something that we take very seriously. And I appreciate your comments about it, but that's what we're trying to do. I
do hear what you're saying. And I frankly am not someone in the court of who thinks you should deny every application. I think it should be given weight where there is a unique circumstance and there is a difficulty that's caused by the application of
by the building department.
Well, here, they made an error here.
They don't make too many mistakes, but when they make the mistakes, it ends up in our lap. And Mr. Chairman, I think everybody's had their 3 minutes to argue their point. It's time to move on.
I'm happy to move on. I just, as I said, would like to thank you for taking the time to listen. I like to be on the record for this because I do think that there is some very troubling precedent going on here where the board is, in fact, considering these very broadly.
Okay, well, we appreciate your comments.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Unless there's anyone from the public who's waiting to be heard, Cornelius, the application is yours.
Okay, move to close the hearing, leaving open for written submissions until March 8th with a written decision on March 18th.
Do you?
Second.
I'm sorry, Tara, you had a question?
Go ahead, Tara.
Just a question. Do you want a revised survey showing the tennis court?
Yes.
55 by 110.
55 by 110. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay. All right. Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
aye.
Mr. Tuttle,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
rest of your
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You.
All right.
Trying to see.
Is Kalia here?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
no.
Brian's here.
Who?
Brian
Brian.
DeSessa.
Very good. Now, item 4 on the agenda, we were going to second call it. Are those people here to second call
I
before
don't
we
think
move?
so.
Before we move into the re-advertised
Take a
application?
look. I don't.
No, he's not here yet.
Nope.
All right. All right, item 7 on the agenda is Richard Varela, 11 Wells Lane in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-321-4-20.
That is Mary Rose Riley.
He's here.
Yes, I'm here. Do you hear me?
We can hear you, but
Anything?
we
I
can't
see,
see
hear
you yet.
you.
That's okay. You're not missing anything if you don't see me. It's all good.
Okay. Well, do you want to try to put on your video so we can see you?
Be nice.
Hold on it. Hold
I
on.
can
Let's see if
help you.
I'm terrible at this.
I can help you. How about
Oh,
that?
this is asked me to start my video. Okay.
There
Oh,
we
wait,
are.
there I am. Look at
How
that.
about that?
Okay.
Awesome. It worked.
Very
You
good.
don't even- you don't have my whole face, but that's
It's
okay.
magic.
All right.
Okay. So I just have to swear you in before we get started and let's
Sure. Yep.
state your name and address.
My name is Mary Rose Riley, president of the firm Ione Renaissance Associates, 732 Smithtown Bypass, Smithtown, New York.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. If you can tell us about the application.
Sure. I will begin by saying that when the existing dwelling was constructed in 1959, it was granted a variance for a 25-foot front yard depth. That variance application number was number 215. So it's a pretty old variance, and this house has been sitting there for a very, very long time in its position, obviously. So I'm here tonight as the agent for the homeowners, Richard and Amelia Varela, regarding 11 Wells Lane, Hampton Bays. The premises are located in an R40 zone. We are before you seeking side yard reductions in connection with the proposed construction of a new wood deck. R40 requires an aggregate of 60, minimum for one side of 20. The southern side yard of the home is an existing non-conforming, currently situated 19.5 feet side yard. We're asking for 16.8 to the proposed deck. On the northern side yard, it's currently 35.1 feet, also existing non-conforming. We are seeking 31.2 feet to the proposed deck. The aggregate side yards for R40 are 60, and the home as it currently sits has 54.6 feet aggregate. Again, this is an existing non-conforming. So we're requesting a 2.8 minimum side yard reduction requested on the south side and a 3.9 foot reduction for the north side, ending with an aggregate side yard of 47.9. This is a total reduction of 6.7 feet requested for the aggregate. I know that was a little, but that's what we're looking for. Also, we're seeking front yard reductions in connection with the construction of a proposed roof over front portico. The requirement for the front yard is 60 feet, and the house as it currently sits is 24.3. So it was a little off of the 25 feet that was originally granted in 1959. We're seeking relief for 19.3 feet front yard setback to the proposed portico, a 5-yard reduction. Like I said, this was originally granted a variance in 1959. The neighborhood with the homes as they stand there, all variously distanced from the street, variously distanced, variously sized. They're all situated differently. And because of this, we believe this is not a substantial request, and we don't believe it'll have an adverse effect on the neighborhood. The home is very nice, very well kept, and the homeowners enjoy very good relationships with their neighbors. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, so I know we had comments from the building department, which I'll read into the record. Maybe you've gotten them already, I'm not sure. But also, I was looking for a measurement on the survey. 60 feet to 26 feet. I couldn't find the 26-foot measurement on the survey.
Hold on, 60 feet to 26 feet.
Yep. Principal front yard setback.
It's not 26 feet.
Okay.
The existing house is 24.3.
24.3 instead of 26.
It was granted 25
Okay.
in 1959, and that's, like I said, that's number 215, and I have a copy of that.
Okay.
No,
I just want to make sure we weren't missing something.
No.
If it's a different.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
different number. So somebody, put their shovel in the wrong spot.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
it's not 24.3. Go ahead.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
The reason why it says 26 plus or minus is because your proposed roof over on the survey doesn't have a setback on it. So it's not exactly 26. They just said plus or minus. So they're gonna want to know what that setback is. Your proposed roof over it says 1.75 by 17.58.
Oh, that's a little roof over the garage.
Right, that's what she's talking about. That's why I
Oh,
said
I'm sorry. I
minus.
didn't know. I was
Sure.
talking about the one. Okay. Yeah, that one doesn't have, right, and he does not have a number to that corner. If we do quick math, 24.3 plus 3.9 that's 25.2. 28.2 is to the existing corner. Is my math good?
Surveyor needs to do it.
Yeah, so it needs to be added to the survey.
I can
That's-
certainly have the surveyor add that.
Okay,
Yeah,
because
I
we
can.
just, any measurement that's requiring variance relief, we need to have it shown on the survey because our decisions will refer, our decision will refer to the survey. That's
Right.
the reason I
Okay.
asked about it. Okay,
No, that's not a problem. I can have him add that. He did put the more stringent one on. I guess maybe he was trying to save some time. I don't know, but I'll have him correct that for you.
Okay, very good. Okay, and I also just wanted to read into the record the comments of the building department. This is from Marjorie Riley, building inspector. Although the property is located on Wells Creek, it has been determined that the easterly property line is a front yard as established by the ZBA decision number 215 dated May 15, 1959, which granted a front yard setback of 25 feet from the easterly property line to allow for the construction of the existing dwelling. I know you mentioned that before. And two, the survey shall be revised, talking about revising the survey. This is another revision to show the FEMA flood zone line and the front yard setback to the proposed roof cover, 1.75 by 17.58. So anyway.
Yep,
maybe
I'm
you wanna
sorry,
reach out
taking
to
notes.
Marjorie about that.
Yep, not a
That
problem.
other change. Yeah. All right. I'm just trying to see if I have any other questions. It is, appears to me to be a fairly modest sized lot. So,
And it does conform in
yep.
in as many other ways as we can. It's just,
Yeah. Well, and
we're limited with the frontage and the front yard setback.
Yeah, no, and when you have it on a body of water, and that, affects things too.
Right.
Yeah.
We were granted, and I don't have it with me. Unfortunately, I'm not in my office and I didn't bring the whole file home. But we did get a letter of non-jurisdiction from wetlands
Okay, good.
as well. So,
Yeah, and I'm gonna correct myself. Lot area 19,284.38.0443 acres. So it's almost almost a half an acre. So that isn't too small, actually. It just looks small on the survey. All right. Any other questions from members of the board? Or Katie? Okay. Is there anyone from the public who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Varela This is for 11 Wells Lane in Hampton Bays. If you would like to be heard, please let us know by raising your hand. This will be the time.
No hands.
Okay. All right. If not, Helen, it's yours.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Leave it open for written submissions till March 8th. And we'll have a decision on March 18th.
Second,
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill,
aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. DeSessa.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you. Thank you for your testimony tonight. Enjoy the
You're
rest of your
welcome.
evening.
Thank you. I appreciate it, board members. Take care.
You too.
All right. Cal, you here yet?
Nope.
Okay. Here we go. The modification request. Item 8 on the agenda. Patrick Bradley, 18 Sandpiper Lane in East Quogue. On November 7, 2019, this board, by decision number D019143, granted the applicant a setback variance for a proposed garage addition to an existing dwelling and a pyramid variance for a proposed second floor addition to the existing dwelling. The findings of this decision included a discussion regarding the configuration of the existing two driveways. By a letter dated January 8, 2021, Patrick Bradley and Anne Marie Bradley are requesting that said decision be modified to continue to allow the circular driveway to extend from the garage to the south side of the property on Gansett Crossing, as shown on the proposed driveway drawing prepared by Todd O'Connell, AIA of Todd O'Connell Architect PC, dated January 5, 2020.
Board has jurisdiction.
Evening. Just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney. If you can state your name and address, please.
Patrick Bradford, 18 Sandpiper Lane, East Quad.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yep. We want to see if you can turn your microphone up a little bit. A little hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now? Is that better?
A little
Usually
better.
It's not a problem. Usually it's not a problem.
Okay. We can hear you enough, I think.
Okay, all right. I'll speak up, and I thank the board for their time this evening. Oh, sorry.
Okay. You can please tell us about the application.
Yeah, so just a little bit of a brief history here. Back in 2007, my wife Amory and I bought the property at 18 Sandpiper Lane. It was and is a small ranch house, and it was literally a mess. We started by gutting the inside, which allowed us to actually live there. My wife had commented that she what we also had to do was clear the brush of the property outside.
I can't hear you, Mr. Bradley. You'll have to speak up.
Okay, apologize for this. So we cleared that property, and then at the time too, there were actually two driveways on the property that the owner had been using. One which is on the west side of the property, and the other one which is the circular drive, which has been there again since we bought the property in 2007. In 2015, we asphalted the driveway and put cobblestones around it. And then we were looking to expand. Our family is expanding, and it now includes 3 grandchildren with another one on the way. And so we put in the application to build that and to expand the house. The one thing we did want to do was to continue to maintain the circular driveway. It's a corner lot. It's perfect for a circular driveway. It helps us too with cars, especially when my children are visiting. And so when we had originally submitted, or when I had spoken to our architect originally to put in the plans, he told me that there were two reasons why he wasn't going to submit it, which I didn't agree with, but he said the board would not approve this. And he told me that the board told him, or whoever he had spoken to at the board told him, that they did not like circular driveways in the town of Southampton. So while I understand that, again, I think the fact that it's a corner property makes it unique in terms of, you know, what we're asking for here. And what we're asking for is for the board to approve a variance of about 600 feet to allow us to maintain the circular driveway. The other thing too, I just want to point out to the board is we've improved this property and continue to improve the property. You know, we do plantings in the backyard. I actually had to come to the board a few years back when we were looking to get a variance in order to put a pool in. The corner lot that we have only allowed us at the time, outside of code, to put in a pool that was about 4 by 6. When we went and explained to the board what we were looking to do, again, seeing that it was a corner lot, obviously the board approved us having a larger pool. And like I said, we've continued to improve the property. There are plantings of forsythias on the south side of the property. There are plantings of hydrangeas on the west side. There's plantings of skip laurel on the north side of the property. And again, what we're asking is that we just be allowed to, with the expansion of the house, to maintain the driveway, you know, as it is. I've already said that we're looking to have, you know, our children there. You know, we've discussed with all our neighbors. Our neighbors actually have had the circular driveway and have seen it there for the last 5 years. I did submit, as was the request of the board, to have, you know, to our neighbors. So if they wanted to appear, they could. I've spoken to several of them after this, and all have said that they thought, you know, again, they thought they couldn't understand why we weren't getting approved, you know, by the board at this point. So my wife and I, again, we are going to probably be retiring in the next year or two, and this is what we're doing. We're looking to kind of improve the property so that when we move out permanently, you know, it'll be there. So I asked the board to approve our request for variance.
So thank you for that. If I could just jump in, Mr. Chairman, my first thought on seeing this is, and I'm glad we have Mr. Trezza here as to their perspective. It just seemed like problematic to have the driveway on a corner.
It was, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I was looking at it today. You know, as for this circular driveway, I thought it was, you know, normally you try not to have an access right at the intersection corner there, as a general rule of thumb for really any access to any property. So that was my only thought about the application. I'm not really sure. I think that it said something in there that this was part of a previous ZBA decision. So I didn't actually see that decision. I did look, so I'm not really sure what that issue was, but that issue that you just raised about the location, I concur with.
By the way, the driveway location, there are still trees, but there's 2 very large trees on either side of the driveway, you know, as you enter it into Sandpiper Lane. So that's one of the reasons why it's there. And again, since we purchased the property back in 2007, that has been there, and you know, we've used it throughout.
Okay. So it sounds to me like the driveway where it's being proposed at that corner is where you want it. And you said there are trees on both sides?
Well, the entrance by Sandpiper Lane is the entrance that was approved. That has 2 trees on it. I thought that might be where the question was coming from. What we're asking to be able to do is maintain the driveway that exits out onto Gannett Crossing.
Oh, so I misunderstood it then. I thought you were asking to keep the one that's on the corner, and I was going to ask you to move it. So that one you're saying is already there and legal?
Yes, that Sandpiper Lane, and again, it's been there since we purchased the property back in 2007, and you know that we're looking to, and again, there's 2 very large oak trees right by the on either side of it, which we wanted to continue to keep there. What I'm talking about is the driveway that is on Gannett Crossing. And as you can see, what was approved back in November of 2019 was the elimination of that and making green space. And again, based on our growing family and the needs there, we're asking that we be allowed the variance for the 600 feet to have the continue to maintain the circular drive.
Okay, so I'm not sure where board members are on this request.
I mean, Mr. Trezor, does that change anything? Just, I meant for planning perspective, because now they're not asking for that one. I was misreading that one.
Look, I looked at it. I mean, we're not talking about the corner of Montauk Highway here, or where I'd have a lot more heartburn over this. So like I said, just at a quick look, if it's an existing driveway and that's where the existing driveway was there, look, I'm not going to recommend that they rip it up or anything like that. I was merely just agreeing and pointing out with you that you try not to, locate an access at an intersection corner. It's just a matter of, general, planning practice.
I think one of the concerns as well from the prior variance was the amount of pavement and the amount of parking.
Right.
That this was going to provide. And I think that's why they probably were like, pick one of these driveways.
Gotcha. That's what I was asking, is what was the rationale for the, it being an issue when the ZBA made the decision before.
And again, I think our rationale in asking to maintain that is when our kids visit, there are cars. Again, we've looked to maintain and actually improve. There are 3 gardens that we have in the back of the property. So we've looked to upgrade our property as much as possible, knowing that, again, there may be less green space in the front than what was, than what may be required. Again, this is a corner lot, and it is difficult to kind of deal with the corner lot, in that way.
Looking at the decision, this was decision number D019143, dated November 7th, 2019. It doesn't really, in the text of the decision, have anything about the driveway.
Right.
But maybe in the record, that is, if we pull.
Yeah, I mean, it says there was discussion with the board regarding the existing 2 driveways that was addressed by the building department, and the survey was revised to reflect that the southerly portion of the driveway will be removed.
So what happened with that is, we were trying to get plans approved so that we could start construction. We were originally going to do construction the year before, but there were delays with the review of the project with the architect. And so what we were trying to then do is move it along rather than have our request denied by the board and then have to go to the Board of Appeals. We wanted to start construction. We are pretty much halfway through the construction of the new house. It started back in September. So that's the reason why in talking to the architect, he said, in the best way to get this approved so we can start the construction, to get that done is to go this way, knowing that I was going to request, this, or make this appeal to the board.
Okay. Yeah, I see where you're the section in the decision on that. Yeah. So my guess is there was a discussion during our prior public hearing asking you to pick a driveway. That is an exit from the driveway.
Right. And again, our request is to maintain it, to give us a variance on the 600 feet. And I don't know if any of our neighbors are on, but I did, kind of talk to them, and some of them around us, those who we sent. I didn't speak to all of them, but no one had any problems with our request.
Can you put the survey back up, please?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think if you want to move the driveway to where the new cut is and then keep some driveway, but I think the 2 cuts in contradiction to what we previously did I'm having a hard time with that, what the previous approval was.
Like I said, the reason why we went with it initially was because if we waited, we probably wouldn't be able to get construction done until next year or this year. And so that was why, again, after talking to my contractor and talking to the architect, we went this way. I knew when we got the approval from the board originally that we were gonna need to come back to you to request to, again, just maintain what, the circular drive. And by the way, one other thing too, I went through Pine Neck Landing. There's 110 residences, 17 of them have circular driveways. I also went through Pines Field and also through Shinnecock Shores, and there's a like number as well. So, the board does allow these kinds of things. And as I said, the corner lot to me is.
I mean, you could have just flipped in all your neighbors illegally. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of them. I don't know.
I'm not trying to do anything illegally. I've come to the town, several times when we bought the property, and asked, again, we've tried to work with the board. We're certainly not trying to work against the board, and I don't want to do anything that, would be illegal.
Yeah, no, I think what Brian was saying is that it may be some of those circular driveways need approval and haven't gotten approval.
Well, I'm not going to give my neighbors up either, but again, they're there. They've been there for quite some time. And Pine Neck Landing too. Our house is a little ranch. A lot of these homes are now being improved, and a lot of them are being made a lot larger. They're adding second stories. That whole area is.
Yeah. You were going to say something? I'm sorry, Helen.
The thing that disturbs me, unless I heard you wrong, is that when you were last before us and you spoke to your attorney or architect and talked about wanting the circular driveway, you were told that the board would say no. So you accepted that, you got what you got, and now, even though you were told no, you're coming back to get what you didn't think you could get the first time. And so
the reason why I didn't want to approve, well, the reason why I did not want to wait was because we didn't want to delay construction. It's taken us a long time, even prior to start of construction.
But that's not an answer to the question that I posed. Or the statement that I made. It's like you knew that was highly unlikely you could get it.
Well,
you got what you got based on information from some professionals that you trusted, and now you're coming back to us again.
What the architect told me was that he would do that, but that it would cause a delay in the construction. So that's
not necessarily true.
Well, that's what, again, that was the information that my wife and I were told. So in order to get the construction,
how does that make any sense? You were going to have construction anyhow. So what did it matter if you got that as part of the original?
Well, we would have had to have gone and appealed probably a decision telling us we couldn't have it, which then would have delayed the approval for us to do the construction.
So now you're just, oh.
Now
I don't feel good about this.
Now I'm coming in front of you to, again, ask that you just allow me to keep what I have there. And again, it's going to improve the property.
But that's not, if this isn't all, we're not here just to have, the issue is not how you're improving the property.
I think, Mr. Chairman,
everybody came and did whatever they wanted to do based on, I'm improving the property, not doing what the rules are, what we're mandated to follow.
Maybe it's worth it to listen to the last public hearing. It wasn't that long ago. Maybe if we could listen to it, or we can pull the file from 2019 and see what the exact rationale is. Maybe, if it was really truly for, go ahead, Candace.
Okay, so I'm gonna share the screen again just so you can see what I'm talking about. Which is not something I normally do, but I just feel it's necessary. My recollection was, yes, the original survey, the survey that was approved did say that this was going to be removed. However, there was conversations with the building department and I believe the architect. Originally, this line here, this existing curb line that they want to remove and expand the driveway.
Yes.
The building department had an issue with the amount of space, amount of parking space, and amount of driveway that was here. And that's why the driveway was reduced to be what it was in 2019. So not necessarily, they didn't say much about this portion of it because they said they were going to remove it. However, like I said, the building department had more of an issue with the amount of asphalt driveway that was being created here by removing this and adding this back in.
Well, I want to see if there's anyone from the public who wants to be heard, but I also want to say, I think Katie's suggestion is a good one. That's all, we can all listen to the tape, which is all available of the last public hearing. So understand, because we want to try to be consistent as a board. And my guess is that when we listen to the tape, we're going to find that we told the applicant at that time, or the applicant's agent, to pick a driveway. I think that's probably what happened. But in any case, let's listen to the tape. Whatever the tape says, I want to stick with our mindset, speaking for myself, of the initial public hearing in terms of what we wanted to happen in terms of the driveway. So.
But Mr. Bradley, do you want to keep it because you want the access to
Yeah.
Gannett Crossing, or because you want the parking?
No, the access.
Okay, so then maybe let's just adjourn it so we can, if it's not an access problem, maybe we can shrink it or reduce the pavement. I agree with Brian. When you look at both of them, you're like, why was it one and not the other? I don't know. I just think it might be worth it to just put this over for one more meeting, just so everybody can know exactly what the rationale was.
Yep. Okay. All right. In the meantime, any other questions from members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who would like to be heard this evening on Zoom in connection with the application of Bradley? This is for 18 Sandpiper Lane in East Quogue. If you would like to be heard, this would be the time to let us know by raising your hand.
No hands.
No hands. Okay.
Yo, listen. Super Bowl Sunday's coming up on Sunday. Warner Wolf says, let's go to the tape.
That's what we're going to do. And we're going to put it over. So Keith, it's actually yours.
I know it's I love modifications.
Yes, you do.
And Candace knows that. All right. So very simply, let's adjourn this to first meeting in June.
No.
When you guys want to do it, Adam?
Well, I think we have room on the agenda for the next meeting on the 18th.
On the 18th of February?
Yep.
I'll move to adjourn it for all purposes to our 2/18 meeting.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. DeSessa.
Aye.
Joe votes aye. Thank you for your testimony this evening, Patrick. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We've been going for 2 hours. I wanted to see, we might want to take a short break before we go to River Rock. And I know we have one other application that's being second called. So.
Yeah, we still have 2 more
You
applications.
still have 11.
Number 11.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to take a short break.
Second.
So moved.
Okay. Short break.
Oh, boy.
Anthony, don't get any ideas about these breaks.
You're muted.
I won't get any ideas. We won't alter the planning board meetings, I promise.
Oh, please. My God. This is so, I can't tell you what, I'm recording on 4 different devices. So for me to pause, it's crazy.
Charles, do you see Steve Kiley on your list?
Yes, and he is
Okay,
here.
you can
He's
go ahead
here.
and let him in.
He's here.
Okay.
Yep.
He's here for case number 4 whenever you get ready.
You got to unmute. Damn it. Tuttle, come on, man.
All right, we'll go to 4.
Wait a minute. Gotta wait for the chairman.
I'm ready.
Gotta give me a second.
No problem.
Gotta bang it. Gotta bang that gavel, bub.
When Charlie tells me I'll bang the gavel, I'll bang the gavel.
Okay, bang the gavel.
Okay, we're back on.
You guys are gonna miss me one day. Item 4 on the
One day.
Item 4 on the agenda is Bartolomé Callier, 21 North Westbury Road, in Hampton Bays, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-296-1-35. Applicant requests relief from Town Code 330-82, lot width, to allow a road frontage of 16.65 feet, where a minimum of 40 feet is required and any other relief necessary.
Board has jurisdiction.
Good evening.
Kylie?
Yes.
Yes,
Good evening, Stephen. I just have to swear you in unless you're an attorney.
I'm an attorney.
You're an attorney, so I have to swear you in.
Yeah, disregard the beard.
Okay, no
I am an
problem.
attorney.
You can tell by those glasses. You can tell by the glasses.
Yeah, look, I have my, look on the wall.
There we go. Well, it could be an engineer. It could be an engineering degree. Yeah.
But the American flag. All right,
Okay, all good.
all right. So would you like me to present? Or-
Yep, absolutely. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, great. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and rest of the board. My name is Stephen Kiley, and I'm the attorney for the applicants Bart and Carmela Callier. I'm here tonight seeking an area variance from section 330-82 entitled Lot Width, particularly road frontage, where 40 feet is required, and here we're holding 16.56 feet. The subject lot, known as 21 North Westbury Road, is 59,623 square feet, or approximately 1.4 acres, and is vacant. It is located in the R20 zoning district where the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. Thus, it is almost triple the minimum lot size for the zoning district. The applicant's prospective purchaser is seeking to construct a single-family dwelling on same. It should be noted that absolutely no dimensional relief would be required for said construction, but for road frontage, thus the instant application. This pre-existing nonconformity was established upon the creation of this and other lots in the area. This lot is certainly not alone in road frontage deficiency. In fact, 5 other immediately surrounding lots suffer from the same nonconformity. The first one, 23 North Westbury Road, a flag lot to the north, is improved and holding only 16.7 feet, where 20 feet for a flag lot is required. The second, 22 North Westbury Road, the lot adjacent to 23 North Westbury, is improved and holding a 16.74 road frontage, where 40 feet is required. The third, 40 Yale Drive, adjoining the subject parcel to the west, is a mirror image of same, identical lot size and configuration, and is improved while holding approximately 16 feet where 40 feet is required. The fourth, 42 Yale Drive, north of 40 Yale Drive, is an unimproved lot holding 17 feet where 20 feet is required. And lastly, 47 Yale Drive, adjacent to 42 Yale Drive, is an approved lot holding 16.7 feet where 40 feet is required. Therefore, somehow these lots, all north of Harvard Drive, were all historically created with the same road frontage nonconformity, all without a variance, nor by the virtue of being part of a subdivision. Thus, the proposed road frontage would be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. Clearly, no detriment to nearby properties will occur, as all but one of these properties are improved. And again, there has been no such detriment. There is no other method available but for the instant application to make any use of this lot. The request is not substantial as compared to the road frontages held by similar properties in the neighborhood. There will be absolutely no adverse environmental impacts. And again, there is no other option other than a variance to residentially develop the property in a manner that will meet or exceed all of the other applicable zoning requirements. In sum, I respectfully request that the subject application be granted. I'm now available for questions.
Well, I don't have any questions. I mean, it's, you're asking for what apparently is similar to other properties in the immediate vicinity. And you're just trying to get what I consider to be relatively modest relief. I don't know if anyone sees it differently, but that's how I see it.
I have no problem with it. I went to see the land. Seems the only thing.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Kiley?
We did, I don't know if anybody's here, but we did get an email, like through the portal. We did get somebody who said he did not want to speak, but he did have an objection to the application. So I'm just going to tell you what that said, just because I don't think everybody got it. It just came through the portal today. It's from Chris Mandato at 30 Harvard Drive. He just says the application has the potential to negatively impact the character of the neighborhood. The frontage is substantially less than the required frontage, creating an unusual entry point to a property that is nestled between properties rather than facing a road. And then he ends it by saying, let me just say, the applicant has made their intent known that they are seeking to build a single-family dwelling with a driveway that would run along the easterly side of the property and will not seek to subdivide. Therefore, in the event the town does grant the application for a variance, it is respectfully requested that the aforementioned limitation be guaranteed. I guess that's a guarantee on no further subdivision. And that's again from Chris Mandato.
I am not inclined to ask the applicant to agree to no further subdivision. I'm not inclined to do that.
Chairman, if I could just I want to show you the lots that I referenced. I highlighted the subject lot, and like obviously if I was in person, I'd have you a nice big board and be a better presentation. I'm not used to this newfangled Zoom hearing, so I'm just going to hold it up for you, and maybe you guys can see it.
Yeah, can you just submit that to the board?
Sure. So these are all the lots that I've referenced. They're all surrounding the subject lot, all have non-conforming road frontage. And like I said, the one directly adjacent to it is a mirror image with a house on it and has less road frontage.
Okay. Yeah, just submit that to us.
Steve, when you submit that, does that tax map have the numbers that you referenced, like the road frontage?
I'll write in the street addresses.
I did put in a letter to us with the map.
Sure.
So
thank you.
Okay, greatly appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions from members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who is waiting to be heard on Zoom this evening in connection with the application of Talia? This is for 21 North Westbury Must be Road, in Hampton Bays. If there's anyone who was waiting to be heard, you would need to raise your hand to let us know that you want to have us hear you.
No hands.
No hands. Okay. All right. If not, Helen, it's yours.
Okay.
I have one hand.
Closed up.
I have a hand.
Hold on. We have a hand.
Got a hand.
The late hand, but it's a hand.
Okay.
Okay, William Hughes.
Okay.
So I have to put your video on, William. There you go.
Okay. We can see you. Here we go. Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm actually William Hughes, Janine Hughes. We live at 28 Harvard Drive. We're actually the property that's adjacent to the said property that's in question.
Okay. So I have to swear you both in. So you state your names and addresses. If you can both just will you both tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I, William Hughes,
I, Janine Hughes,
28 Harvard Drive.
28 Harvard Drive.
I'll tell the truth.
Okay.
We're
Very
the
good.
whole truth.
Okay. All right. If you now tell us your give us your thoughts on the application, please.
Our only concern is of how much footage would be said. So our property has already been here. We've been here for over 2 years now. We already have a set sprinkler system that was prior to our purchase of the home that's been here. And I know they have found the marker prior for, I think this, but we're just concerned about how much footage of our yard, which, we want to make sure that everything is just done appropriately and fairly for.
Yeah. And I can see on the survey where you are. So you're to the south. It looks like on south of the property along towards the east corner.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes, we're that corner lot right there. We share their corner, which would be there where their their driveway would.
Yeah. Okay. Steve, I don't know if you can answer their question.
No, I actually had a pleasant conversation with Mr. Hughes. He's a gentleman. So I assured him that we're not going to traverse any of his property. The ingress and egress is what it is, and we're not going to encroach at all. And my client is looking to situate the building envelope smack dab in the middle of the lot so as to enhance his privacy, but the byproduct is enhancing the privacy of the neighbors to the south, absolutely, and the lot to the north. So that's all I could add.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we have a survey of a vacant lot. So we don't know exactly where the structure is going to be right now. At least that's not part of what we have. But the only relief they're asking for is the lot width to allow road frontage of 16.65 feet instead of 40 feet. Other than that, at least as of right now, I have to presume that everything that they're going to be constructing is going to comply with zoning. If it doesn't, then they have to come back to it.
Right, and our main question is that 16 and a half feet, it's whatever angle it comes in on our property. So if you imagine, I don't know if you guys have the paperwork in front of you, looking due north, if you go in at a 45-degree angle, that would be perfect. But if you guys do 10 degrees off north, then that shaves a good part of my yard away.
Again, where we have zero intention, and we wouldn't be allowed to do that anyway, is to go onto your property. And it's my understanding that you spoke to my client, and he's a good guy, and he'll work on designing the driveway so as to mitigate any harm to your property.
No, I did speak with him. I just want some clarity on it. Is that 16 and a half feet? Is it going to be that 16 and a half, is it coming onto my property or also gonna
No, it
impact?
fronts the road. It fronts the road solely, that's 16 and a half
flag
feet.
lot.
So
But the way that, it's hard to see from the specs, the way that the roadage is now, is that our yard comes this way and it's almost that flag lot mailbox. I mean, I don't know if that mailbox is in the appropriate placement for the
No,
flag lot.
It's-
It seems like there's not 16 feet.
Yeah, it's my understanding that the mailbox is not in a proper location.
Okay.
But you're both here expressing your concerns, and I'm hoping that Mr. Kiley and his client can address your concerns.
Oh yeah, we've had only pleasant interactions as of now.
Okay.
No, we're all for it. We just want to see how it's gonna go down.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Janine, can you just spell your first name for me?
Sure, it's Janine.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who's waiting to be heard on Zoom in connection with the application of Calia?
No other hand.
No other hands. Okay. All right. It's Helen, it is yours.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing, leave it open for written submissions for March 8th with a decision on March 18th.
second,
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Cornelius, I think you seconded it.
yep, aye,
yeah.
aye,
Kelly. Okay. Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
He's
You can't
muted.
hear me.
aye,
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. DeSessa.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you for being here this evening, Mr. Carley. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right, thank you so much. You guys as well.
Thanks.
Item 11 on the agenda is Jerry Walia, 555 Mitchell Lane in Bridgehampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-50-1-8.1. This is held over from our January 7th meeting.
Good evening, board members. I have my client on the Zoom as well as our architect. I don't see
He's here.
Brian on here. Is he on here? I see Jerry.
Jerry and Brian.
Brian
Okay,
Glasser.
I got him. Got him.
Okay, so maybe you can update us as to where we are.
Yeah, gladly. As the board will recall, this is an application for rear yard lot coverage variance and setback variances to build a tennis court on Mitchell Lane in conjunction with the building of a new single-family dwelling. Since the last hearing, we received a letter from one of the neighbors, which was submitted to the board, which you all should have, and we also amended some of the plans. And I want to have Mr. Glasser kind of further elaborate on the changes that we made and why the variances that we're requesting are necessary.
Okay. Mr. Glasser, I just have to swear you in, so if you can state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Brian Glasser. My address is 27 Grace Park Drive, Comac, New York. I'm the architect working with Jerry Wally on 555 Mitchell Lane in
And
Bridgehampton.
do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If you can give us your comments.
All right, nice. So I believe we can share a screen.
Yes.
All right, nice. I'm as an architect, I'm a little more graphic. I like to show you guys what's going on. Hopefully I can explain it a little clearer what's happening here. So I'm just going to share it now. Can you guys see this sky aerial view?
We can.
Okay, great. All right, so basically, I'm just going to kind of explain. You guys are familiar with the property, but I'll just go over that. Roughly the location is we're towards the west side or east side of Mitchell Lane, and we're roughly a little over 200 feet off of Tiffany Way, which is to the south. Tiffany Way's north. We're about 207 feet south of Tiffany Way. The property, the proposed work that we're doing, just want to run through quickly the coverages of the current structure. We're allowed to be at roughly 8,000 square feet of lot coverage, and we're actually only at around 6,100 with the proposed structure. I know it's not that important with what we're doing, but I just want to state that we're undersized with what could actually be built on this property. One of the biggest things that my client, when he was, purchasing this property for himself, was that, he wanted a view looking towards the farm, which can't be built on, and, why most people want to move out here. The one downside to this piece of property is this large industrial barn. It's not really, it's more of a metal structure. It's not as, like rustic looking, but so we're trying to bypass that with the direction of which way we were going with the layout. So I just want to kind of jump into the site plan here. So basically that barn is towards the south of the property. The proposed tennis court that we're looking to get a variance on, as you can see, the rear yard setback for an R80 zone is pretty strict, where we have this tennis court in the rear yard, like the rear yard coverage would be maxed out. So my client was okay actually lowering the size of it to a 55 by 110 as opposed to the 60 by 120. And we were looking to get roughly a setback or a variance for the 5.7%. From my understanding, the last hearing that we went to, you guys had some concerns about the setbacks on the north and the east side of the property lines because we have a 30-foot setback requirement. If we were to move the sunken tennis court, which is going to be lowered by 4 feet in the ground with a retaining wall going around, and if we were to put it within these setbacks, as you can see, it would push it closer to the pool area and the proposed structure, which you can see here, we're already as tight as we can get with our front yard and side yard setbacks. So we can't move the house any closer to the street, which would help us with that situation. The one thing that my client liked is, so the view where this line going to the back, going to the farm area, if we were to move this sunken tennis court closer towards this, open rear yard with the view, we have to put a fence around it, and there was going to be landscaping going around. So it would be blocking his view from his, barbecue area, covered porch, and patio space. So
what are the setbacks now, though? Just because you said it was too close to the house, what is that setback? Is it 20?
36 feet from the edge of the house to where the patio would be.
I mean, I don't know. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So basically the understanding is we have a flag lot here. And if you were to take just the flag lot, it's a driveway access. So our understanding was to the nearest lot or property, which is to the north here, you're more than 40 feet away from the actual setback line, from a setback. If it was if this was a normal property and it wasn't a flag, you wouldn't really, I could understand where you guys would say, all right, we want to be at 30 feet away because you have a neighbor that's right here. But because we almost have this buffer of 21'6", and we also have the proposed, this lot 2 behind us actually, which I was going to just go to this view here. Just bear with me a second. So we have this drone image of roughly showing a lot, which you guys just recently spoke about. There is a tennis court just adjacent to us. So we thought it made sense to put these 2 tennis courts similar and like next to each other. Same program. If we were 10 feet away, which we originally proposed, we understand that might be a little tight, but now we have 20 feet, which allows us to have plenty of landscaping and a buffer between the 2 properties. And also the neighbor, to the east is so far away, we didn't think it was really going to be disturbing anyone, as he has a tennis court between us pretty much. I know, William, you have a letter from this neighbor, I believe, stating that he's okay with this.
I do. That was submitted to the board. Did the board members receive that letter?
I think so.
Yes.
Great.
just, I think,
The board should also have the updated plans that decrease the setback variance request.
one other thing I'd like to mention is currently, if you look at the, actually this drone image here, there's existing landscaping, a landscaping buffer between the property to the north and where our tennis court would be located. It's currently right here. So you have roughly 40 feet, over 40 feet from this property line to where a tennis court would be going. And then you have nothing but like pretty much rear yard setbacks for these neighboring properties, which have, like I said, a landscaping buffer of 18 to 20 foot evergreens. And my client also, you know, we were talking to his contractor, and we're going to have to landscape around our sunken tennis court as well to hide the fence, which is a code requirement. So someone doesn't fall in you know, a 4-foot hole. But that's pretty much my presentation. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to it, but I could answer any questions.
Can you put that survey back up that showed it in a conforming location?
Yep. All right. Is this clear?
Yes, like I said, we don't have that, do we?
It's
Yeah,
not in a
that was-
conforming location, Katie.
What's that?
It's not in a conforming location.
Oh, that's the one with the 20-foot setback.
Correct.
Okay.
We originally
the one with-
applied, we originally applied for a 10-foot setback, and at the last
Yep.
hearing, they were saying that 20 would probably be a better option, so.
Got it. So with the 20-foot setback, it's still 30 feet away from the house.
36 feet with a 20-foot setback, yeah. The one thing I mean, we'll have landscaping here, and to get, I would assume that we would have a gate that separates the pool in the backyard from the front yard. To get machinery back here and have landscaping, I mean, we have a barbecue right here, so. I mean, another 10 feet, it might, I know it seems like there's space, but once you start.
There's definitely space there, in my opinion. I think you can make it 30 feet, and we can talk about the rear yard lot coverage.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm not feeling the 20 feet and the lot coverage. You know, put it in a conforming location, and I'd consider the lot coverage. I mean, you know, you're building a house. You know, your client is building a house on a farm. Doesn't want to look at the agricultural buildings right next door to it, which are actually very important to be able to farm a farm. You know, I'm sorry that it's inconvenient, but the lot next to you appears to have a tennis court that's in a conforming location. You know, I don't see why.
It's more of the actual structure. The lot towards the west is actually, they have a straight view right behind the back of their house. If we were to locate this so we had a view straight to the east, we'd be looking at the neighbor's property. And if we were to completely rotate it towards the south, we would have basically our rear yard would be almost like you'd be seeing people, you know, people could, I know there's existing hedges here, but your front yard, you know, your rear yard is going to be right up against Mitchell Lane, which, you know, is kind of busy.
But enhancing somebody's view is not a justification for granting variances.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I mean,
not.
yeah, no, I agree. I understand where you're coming from.
You know, this is a legal procedure, you know, this is zoning, and
Does the, I mean, the one point I made about the flag lot setback of 21 feet, including our 20, I mean, does that mean anything? Just the fact that, you know, to an actual piece of property that we have plenty of clearing where someone, you know, it's not like this is a yard, as I mentioned before.
Well, why don't I put it this way? You have to get the 4 of the seven of us in order to get the variance approved. I'm hearing from right now 2 members of the board who want the tennis court to be 30 feet so that you don't need setback relief for it. And then I think the board will consider the lot coverage relief. That's from 2 of the board members. I'm not sure whether there are other board members who feel the same way, but if there are 2 more who feel the same way, well, then you don't have 4 votes to get that
Right.
the setback relief.
Would it be all right if we did the third? I got my client, he's on. If we were to do a 30-foot setback from the neighboring property to the west or to the east, which he was okay with it, but and maintain this 20 feet towards the north, would that be something you guys would be okay with because it's a flag lot right here?
Well, I'm not sure. The 2 board members who just spoke said they wanted it to be conforming.
Oh, that was just that it didn't matter. Okay.
Well,
Sorry, I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was.
They want the tennis court not to have setback relief.
Okay.
It's just a matter of they want what they want and they want to put it where they want to put it. That's what it is.
I don't think that's a fair, I don't think that's a fair assessment of what we're doing.
Absolutely it is.
I think my client wants.
Absolutely it is.
I think my client wants to be heard.
You want to argue with me with that?
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's a fair assessment of what we're trying to accomplish. I think my client wants to be heard. Jerry, are you on?
He's on.
Jerry? Jerry, we can't hear you.
There we go. Okay, Jerry, I just have to swear. Jerry, just have to swear you in unless I don't believe you testified previously. Can you I want to make sure I can hear you. Is your microphone on?
Second. Can you hear me?
I can kind of hear you, but it sounds like.
Jerry, yeah, on the bottom where it says the video, just hit that little arrow up and just do audio settings. And you'll see where it says audio and you'll see volume like midway and lift it up and down. I think you're good.
Okay, so I just have to swear you in so you can state your name and address for the record.
Jerry Wiley, 18 Livingston Avenue, Jericho, New York, 11753.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, the video is, the audio is still not good.
Okay. Sorry about that. I
That's
apologize.
okay. If you can see if you can adjust it. We just want to be able to hear you okay.
I am trying my best here.
Yep.
That's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better.
Better.
I just want to move forward with getting the approval that makes it respectful to my neighbors and what you guys are comfortable with. If we have to do the rear yard lot coverage, I'll figure that out and we can try to push for that if that's okay with you guys.
So Jerry, you're basically.
Yeah, let's just if we have to do the 30 feet, we should just try to figure out a way to do it.
So you're okay with the 30-foot setbacks and then just trying to grant us the rear yard coverage of 5.7% additional.
Right. I mean, if I can get 5 feet, that would be appreciated. But if we can't do that, I totally understand. This is my first big, investment that I've done. I'm looking forward to being a member of Southampton residency, and whatever you guys need for me to do to make this house respectful and get it done, I'm willing to do that.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Jerry. One of the things with tennis courts is that they can be on the noisy side.
Right.
And so that's why setback relief. We had another application previously with a tennis court. Right. Where they didn't have setback relief. And so when we have tennis court applications requesting setback relief, it often raises these issues. So I appreciate the fact that you're willing to have it have conforming setbacks.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Okay, no problem. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us?
That's about it. I appreciate everything. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
If that's the case, Adam, do we need to submit updated plans, or can we just state on the record that we'll meet the setbacks that are required and just amend the application to just ask for the coverage?
We need the survey revised to have the new location of the tennis court at the conforming location. with
I
measurements on
I
it.
understand what, I guess, let me be clear. Can you guys vote on it without having that, or do you need that before you can vote?
We need that before we can vote, but we
Okay.
wouldn't be doing a decision anyway for a while, under any circumstances. Because we have to give the public an opportunity to be able to, give their
Right, I know.
comments. So the earliest we would have a decision anyway would be March 18th.
I didn't hear the last thing you said.
I said the earliest we could have a decision would be at our March 18th meeting.
Okay.
But we can close the public hearing tonight.
We can close public hearing tonight, but yeah. So we would need that revised survey like a week before or thereabouts before the 18th. We're going to be having it open for written comments until the 8th. We need it by the 8th.
You need it by the 8th of March.
By the 8th of March. The revised survey.
All right, that's not a problem.
Okay.
We have a few people that want to speak.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so before we go further, any other questions of the members of the board or Katie before we go to the next speaker? Okay. All right. Well, who would like to speak next?
1 second.
Yes, Pamela Harwood.
Yes. Good evening, Pam. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Just need to.
I know. Oh, okay. It says you cannot start your video because the host has stopped it.
1 second.
The host has to enable my video.
I understand. 1
He's
second.
good right now.
Hi.
Okay, there we go. Okay. I don't have to swear you in again. I swore you in last time. So just
Okay.
tell us your comments.
All right, thank you. I wrote this before hearing of the changes this evening, and I understand that some of the setback variances are off the table, but the rear yard coverage variance is still on the table, so I'd still like to make some comments about this application.
Sure.
When the applicant purchased this open space property, he knew that it is in the CR 80 zoning district and that town code allows for very particular regulations, including setback and rear yard coverage requirements. It is a vacant open space field, and he could have required his architect to design a home and accessory structures that conform to the town building code, but he did not do that. Instead, he had his architect draw up plans for home and accessory structures that are placed at an angle to rather than facing the street, which might have created more room, and that require a setback variance. Well, that's off the table now for the tennis court, but for rear yard coverage, and that is 20% greater than what is allowed. At the last meeting, at least one board member suggested that the applicant revise the plan to have a 20-foot setback instead of a 30-foot setback, effectively splitting the difference of the original request compared to the town code. This had the appearance to me of telling the applicant and the public that this board will guide property owners and potential buyers who are watching on ways to circumvent the town building codes and allow the CR 80 zoning district what is supposed to be only allowed with CR 40 and R 40, where lots are half the size of this lot. And that's what's happening here. It disturbs me that there seems to be a bit of coaching. Well, if you do this, then that might be all right. I don't know that that's should be done. And I'm looking at the 5 ways in which what must be proven by state law, what must be proven in order to grant this area variance, whether it's an undesirable change to the neighborhood. Now, I've heard mentioned tonight about neighbors, individual neighbors, but the CR 80 zoning district was created out of former farmland with the idea that that is the neighborhood. The neighborhood is the CR 80 zoning district, not just particular individual neighbors who may have the same goal of seeking variances and crowding everybody together. There was supposed to be a certain sense of space and proportion in these, and that's what the neighborhood is all about. And variance, even a rear yard variance, makes the whole neighborhood more crowded than it was meant to be. Another way to look at this is whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by another method. Yes, it can. You could have less structures, less accessory structures on the property. You could face the property a different way. There are ways to be totally within town code in building on an almost 2-acre lot. Whether the requested variance is substantial, it is. Even with rear yard, 20% increase in in a variance is substantial, in my opinion. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. Well, yes, they will, by making the rear yard coverage greater. And whether an alleged difficulty is self-created. I don't think there's any doubt that this is self-created. The owners had his architect design something knowing that this is not conforming to town code, and that is a self-created difficulty. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Pamela.
Okay. I think Meredith is probably waiting to be heard.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening again. I just want to echo everything that Pamela said. You know, my concerns again, I was very happy to actually hear that that the owner was willing to move the tennis court to be within a conforming location. My concern is again, just the character of the neighborhood, which is overwhelmingly consists of residential and agricultural properties that are able to have, that do conform. And in fact, there are many properties in the area that have everything that the owners want, the pool, the house, the tennis court on much lesser acreage and more odd shaped lots and not as fully cleared, and they are able to have all of these things and still stay within the conforming requirements of the zoning. And so my only request would be to the ZBA to ask the applicant to consider another configuration that would not require such substantial variance relief, even the 20% on the lot coverage.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredith.
Okay. Is there anyone else waiting to be heard? Okay. Will, just want to give you a chance to respond to the comments. We can't hear you. You need to unmute. There you go.
Sorry about that. No
That's
one's
good.
ever asked me to unmute myself. It's usually the opposite. So I don't have too much to add. I feel very confident that we've addressed most of the concerns that have been raised by the board and the community. I think we've shown a lot of flexibility, that we're not just here to approach this situation as a hammer, but we're willing to work to achieve the goals of the community as well as what we're trying to do with the property. We came off the initial variance, setback variances request significantly, and then we outright got rid of the setback request. And now we're really just looking for this area variance. And I don't think that there's any good reason to really deny it, but that's not my decision. It's the board's.
Can I add something as well?
Sure.
Pamela, I just want to go back over just to make sure. We're only asking for an additional 5.7%, not 20%. So it's very minimal. And to make you feel better about the situation when it comes to a R80 zone, we could actually build a house that is almost 2,000 square feet bigger of a footprint, which we are not doing. So we're actually building a house roughly 4,000 square feet between a first and second floor, smaller than what the town allows, if that makes you feel better. And the only reason I'm saying it is because I can appreciate what you're saying, but we're doing a sunken tennis court that's going to be landscaped. And my client actually could have built a house instead of 6,000 square feet. He could have actually built a 10,000 square foot house on this lot, and it would have been legal, but he actually chose to build a smaller house. And he also chose to build a sunken tennis court that would be hidden by landscaping, which I think most people would appreciate over a monstrosity of a home, which you've seen those houses before, and we all know what they look like. If that makes you feel better about the situation, that's my feelings on that. Like I said, it's sunken. It's, you know, you could technically, I think by code, we could put a patio in the backyard as long on grade, and it wouldn't actually, you could put the whole thing as patio and fully cover it, but we're not doing that either. It's just the tennis court with landscaping around it, which will look much nicer than anything I just recommended, which would be allowed by code. So I'm just bringing that up to everybody here.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comments and questions from members of the board? Okay, if not,
Thank you all so much for your time tonight. I look forward to the eventual decision, and I'll get that updated survey in by the 8th.
okay. Thank you. Okay, Mike, the application's yours.
Okay, so we will close this public hearing, keeping it open for written submissions until March 8th. Is that the correct date?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll need to have your updated information to the ZBA office by March 8th. And if you do have it in by that time, we'll make a decision on March 18th.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Daly,
Aye.
Mr. Hahn,
Aye.
Mr. Tudhill,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Burgess,
Aye.
Mrs. Sessa.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you all for your comments this evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Item 13 on the agenda is 65 Cliff Drive LLC, 65 Cliff Drive in Noyak, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-9-1-18.1. This is held over from our 12/3 meeting and our 1/21/21 meeting.
Okay, who's here on behalf of the applicant?
Hi, I'm Madeline Van John, Tarbert and Lester. I'm the attorney for the owners here this evening.
Okay, good evening. So maybe you can give us an update.
Okay, sure. So basically, since the last meeting, we took into consideration the different, some of the concerns that the board members had, and we've made a few reductions to what we're asking for. First, the width of the house was reduced in order to eliminate the front yard pyramid request. And then the house itself has been shifted 2 feet away, 2 feet further away from the northern property line in order to both eliminate the side yard setback request. And that's reduced the volume of the side yard pyramid from 1951 cubic feet to just 1261. So there was a pretty significant reduction there. And as I said, that eliminated the side yard setback problem. So we no longer are requesting any side yard setback relief. And we've also reduced the height of the second floor from 8 feet to 7 feet. And the privacy wall on the garage, which was part of the pyramid request, has been reduced from 5 feet to 3 feet. And so now the pyramid request in that area has been eliminated, or sorry, has been reduced from 67 cubic feet to 40 cubic feet. And basically on the garage side, the pyramid request is only for the safety railing, not for the building itself. And we have that railing, that wall there basically for privacy for the homeowners, but also for the neighbors. And it's necessary for safety as well because of the deck. And then we changed the mezzanine above the second story. And you can see on there now the mechanical areas have been delineated. There were some questions about what mechanicals would need to go up there. And now that's been indicated there, and it now shows that it's open to the floor below. And we submitted that to the building department for their review, but we haven't heard back from them as of today. I'm not sure if they sent you a memo regarding that, but based on the architect's conversations, it should all be good to go now in terms of that qualifying as a mezzanine. So basically we've made a number of reductions in response to the comments from last time. So I guess if anyone has any questions, I can answer them.
Okay, so a lot of changes were made. So
What is the new relief? I'm not following that. Do we have a list of the new relief?
Well, currently, so we're just asking for side yard pyramid, 1,261 on the north side and 40 on the south side.
And that's it? Just the pyramid relief?
The 40s for the 40s for the garage, right? The 1,261s for the house, the 40s for the garage?
Correct.
And then for the pool, or no?
No, nothing for the pool.
Okay.
We haven't heard from the building department yet on this mezzanine or top level.
The architect had conversations with them and went over the plans. They said they were going to submit a revised memo. As far as I know, we have not received that. I'm not sure if they sent that to you or not.
Candace just,
Yeah, Katie, I have it. I don't know if you had it already. I just sent an email. The building inspector, Marjorie Riley, she did prepare a memo, and there are still questions about confirming the number of stories. And she has questions also about the basement and how much is being exposed above the natural grade. And she also mentions information with respect to the elevation diagram, and that the plans by Catherine Fee don't reference the average grade. And she also has a question about the rear yard lot coverage. So there's a few things. I did just get this myself this afternoon, so it has not yet been distributed, which is something I will be doing tomorrow morning.
Okay, so it sounds like there's some work left to be done.
Yeah, several of those concerns are brand new to us, so we will be happy to talk to her about that.
Okay. All right, so we don't know, it may be that the ultimate revised relief may change based on the conversations that you have with Marjorie Riley, but for now, this is the information we've got. Any questions or members of the board? Is there anyone from the public who is waiting to be heard this evening in connection with the application of 65 Cliff Drive LLC?
Yes.
Do we have some folks here? Okay, who would like to go first?
Is Tiffany on?
It's Tiff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tiffany. Yeah.
Tiffany, why don't you start us off?
Okay, good afternoon.
Put the video on, please.
Good evening.
There we go.
Sorry.
Tiffany,
sharing?
unless, we can see you, we can hear you, but unless you're an attorney, I have to swear you in.
Okay.
Tiffany was sworn in at the last hearing, I
She
think.
was. Okay, then I don't have to swear you in if you just state your name again.
My name is Tiffany Gavin. Good evening. I live at 53 Cliff Drive. I would like to start off tonight's Zoom meeting by pointing out that a representative suggested at the December 7th, 2020 ZBA meeting that they had all the proper permits for work to that date, which was untrue. They lacked permits from the trustees, the DEC, DOS, and Army Corps. And as one ZBA member pointed out, the pool was likely installed on the wrong permit. It was also suggested that they had conducted a neighborhood analysis to prove that the 3-story home and garage at 16 feet off of the street had been conducted and is in character of the neighborhood. That was also untrue. Mr. Grossman, you had advised and requested that we reach out to the homeowner to try and rectify some of our concerns, and we have reached out formally through our attorney on December 7th, 2020, via email and regular email, offering to meet to discuss the situation. This request, as past requests, have gone unanswered. An 18-foot high structure located 16 feet from the street, located on a parcel that was surveyed at 0.44 of an acre, is a detriment to this neighborhood. It will set a precedent for others to build on the front of their properties what would not have been permitted in the back. There are only 2 detached garages on the water side, 47 Cliff, and that's the side behind the home and is grandfathered in, and 93 Cliff, and that's in the front of the home but in compliance. And neither have a rooftop deck at almost 18 feet in high. The property was, it would just be a disproportionate physical change to the neighborhood and properties in the landscape. The property was surveyed at 0.44 of an acre. Due to the erosion off the back of this property, there should be a new survey. There was a very large area of the back of this property that has eroded from the removal of the illegal removal of the bulkhead that was in fact in jurisdiction. I'm not really sure if is a 3-story home, detached garage, and a pool a reasonable request. Again, the land is only surveyed at 0.44 in 2018 before the erosion, and half of it is unbuildable coveted wetlands. We appreciate and respect improvements to our neighborhood, but not at the detriment and charm and the character of the neighborhood. It also bears noting that this applicant has already been granted relief for lesser building setbacks in trade for removing the functional bulkhead. And it created a nuisance adverse impact to the environment, a violation to the town trustees, and 2 additional violation inquiries from Army Corps and DEC. We would like to be assured that the applicant has proven evidence as to why they have satisfied each of the requested variance standards and provide supporting evidence to prove that no negative impact will come from the further reliefs that they're asking. We would like to see a survey determining the amount of disturbance in natural vegetation based on the current total lot size, not what they're saying it is. The proposed plot dated in 2018 notes over 19,000. It has significantly been reduced. Again, we are very happy to see improvements take place in the neighborhood, but they should not be at the detriment to the neighbors and the charm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Okay, I know there's the Brodies were waiting to be heard. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Did I swear you in previously?
I
Yes.
believe you did.
Yes.
Okay, then you just state your names and that's it. You
Okay.
can tell us your comments.
Van Brody, 61 Cliff Drive.
Arlen Brody, 61 Cliff Drive.
Okay,
Okay, in addition to conforming with the neighborhood, what is kind of on the back seat, but very important, very, very important, is the water side. Because in terms of conforming with the neighborhood, when they took the bulkhead out illegally, as you've heard, it has destroyed property to the left and right, plus the whole canal. Mr. Kalides has a dock, which at low tide is useless because the boats that he would have tied there would be dry docked because of the float of all the soft sand that has moved into the canal. And in addition to that, it is covered somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 of my bulkhead. I have pictures of it, which I could send you later. So the survey that I have seen, the approved survey, which shows the bulkhead, is invalid. Also, some of the stuff that I uncovered on the drawings is that the north elevation is called the east elevation and a few things like that. I think we need a new survey. It discusses significant trees. There are 2 lovely trees in the front yard, which they don't show on the survey. I don't know if we have the right to ask them to remain because of all the dry wells and such, but it does mean a lot to the neighborhood. Also, on my property line, they call for, if I read it correctly, it's not that clear, a new retaining wall, which is already there in stone. And if they do it, they're going to kill a bunch of my trees, which are significant, separating our property. I think those issues themselves affect the neighborhood and the comfort that we've enjoyed with the old house. Not that they shouldn't build a new house, they're entitled to it. The other thing is that I've discovered that, well, it looks like they could put the garage between the pool and the house. If they do that, then there'll be plenty of parking. The way they have it now, you put a car in the garage, the other cars pulling up to it will be hanging over the street by a couple of feet. And they've agreed, I guess, to deal with the sky exposure plane, so that's good. But I would think to move on, we need to see the waterfront corrected because they took it out, and I don't see why they should be granted any kind of permit until that's resolved. And I'd like to see a new survey, new drawings, etc., so that we could comment on it to see if there's any bodies buried.
well, I don't know about bodies buried. I think you're referring to issues. I don't think we don't talk about like actual bodies. But I understand what you're saying. Okay.
I just wanted to see if you were listening.
Oh,
Madeline, do you know if the neighbors have seen the most revised survey that we have?
I'm not sure. We submitted that. We submitted copies of that to the zoning board, I think, last week. I'm not sure if anyone has seen that yet.
Okay, well, it might be helpful to give these guys copies, you know, just so they're
right.
they know what's going on too.
The new plans also.
Yeah, whatever is going to be submitted, if you can forward
It's
copies
just,
to the
it's
neighbors,
difficult
that
to,
would be
it's
great.
difficult to get into town hall lately, to really get access to anything. It takes a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's your name?
And maybe if you folks can get in touch with Madeline and, or Madeline get, I think probably it's easiest if you guys get a hold of Madeline to, get the information, make sure she has the information in order to get the documents to you.
I know another attorney in my office has had conversations with an attorney representing some of the neighbors, so I'm not sure if they've exchanged documents or not. But they did have conversations that were mostly focused on the bulkhead issue, which, as I know, this board is aware from last time, that's nothing to do with what's going on here. We're working separately with the trustees to resolve that, but that's an entirely separate issue than the questions this board has, as I know you're all aware. So.
How can the bulkhead issue not have anything to do with what's going on here?
Well, I mean, I think what Madeline's trying to say is that it's not, the bulkhead issue has to be resolved by other boards and other agencies. It's not that we don't care about it at all. It's just that it's not for the ZBA to resolve that issue. That's what I think that's what
That affects the survey, which will affect the stats and the wetland permit and so on and so forth, the distance of the pool from wetlands and so on and so forth. So doesn't it come in as a package?
Well, sometimes we have multiple agencies and multiple boards dealing with multiple issues on a single project. That's, that happens.
And all of the, all of the setbacks that are before this board and all of the pyramid relief is from the street, from the side property lines. It's not from the wetlands, that's before the trustees or the conservation board.
Well, and I don't know if you've dealt with the conservation board before, but you're in for a treat when you do.
I have.
Because they are tough as could be.
Yeah, right.
Wait.
They are tough as could be. You'll see. Believe me.
You see what this says?
Yep.
That's my property.
I understand.
Oh, I've dealt with them.
Then you did meet with them. Good. So you know what I'm talking about.
So if I may, I mean, the bulkhead is one issue and there's lawsuits and all that fun stuff, but that potentially could have changed average grade. So I think Marjorie's comments are correct on so many different levels, because I think our new contours of the property at 2-foot intervals should be done. That could determine, that could completely redetermine the relief necessary, as well as the exposure of the first level, i.e. the basement. If it's, I think less than 50%, then it could be possibly considered the first level. So we're talking a 4-story house is definitely not in character with the neighborhood. And the fact that a 1,200 cubic foot relief is pretty substantial on what the north side. So just talking about relief and setbacks, I mean, in general for the board, not even the wetland stuff right now, it's still pretty substantial that the structure that they propose to develop is not in character with the rest of the neighborhood. And I would love to see a lot of photographs of the houses that are actually in the neighborhood to compare it to some of them as far as size, width, and closeness to the road as well.
You're welcome to submit that, Agina.
Yeah,
as a neighbor.
I think I will. I represent the all of the neighbors pro bono. So I would like to, I would like to actually see that and bring that up and share the screen so we can kind of have a view of the aerial, the neighborhood, the rest of the houses.
Do you have it with you right now?
I don't have it right now, and I haven't seen the new plans. I haven't seen the new survey that we're speaking of right now.
Yep, I think it sounds like we need some direction from the building department. The neighbors need to
absolutely
see the plan so that everyone can be speaking intelligently on the same set. So I think to
Absolutely.
that end, it would make sense in my mind to adjourn this now, because we're not resolving anything tonight. We need to see the revisions. We need to know what's going on, as do the neighbors. So I think it makes sense to adjourn this so that all those things can happen. We can have a productive conversation about it.
Completely. And the Brody's brought up the landscaping and the trees, and
I agree. I
perhaps
think we
when
should
the
move on.
survey-
I have to agree with Brian.
Yeah, when the
Yep.
survey's revised, you can update it for the mature landscaping and vegetation.
Okay. So
Wow.
Okay.
Can I just ask one question of the board? We're happy to take a look at all of the building inspector's comments before we go any further. But I just want to clarify, we're not, I don't believe the building inspector asked for things like trees to be included on the survey. And I just want to make sure that if we address the building inspector's concerns, that's not going to be something that's going to be asked of us later on.
I mean, only if it's
Look at
relevant.
Item number 4 on your survey.
Wait,
Yeah.
guys, everyone please wait. If it's, I'm answering one question at a time and we're moving on because we're not being productive. So
Right.
if the landscaping is relevant in terms of screening, or the
Yes.
applicant's argument is that they're screening, then we're going to need landscaping. So
Yes,
we leave that up to the applicant to make that determination.
Okay, thank you.
absolutely. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, and then my other question is, when would you like to come back, Madeline? We do have room on our agenda at our next meeting, February 18th, and we also have room on our agenda on our March 4th meeting.
I think we'd like to go ahead with February 18th. I mean, we've talked to the building inspector for a while, so I wish we'd gotten their comments sooner. So we'd like to address that as soon as possible.
There's someone else who wants to speak.
Okay.
Adam, I just have something before you make the motion. Madeline, can you find out who submitted the surveys? Because I don't believe I've seen them yet. Do you know who they came from?
I dropped them off to town hall.
Okay, I'll have to take a look for them because I don't see them in my correspondence. So I want to make sure I have it. Okay.
What's the most recent date?
The recent date of the survey is January 12th.
Okay, I have that one, Candace.
Okay, all right, I'll take a look for it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Catherine, I guess you're waiting.
Well, yeah, I did want to address the basement concern. I mean, we have the.
And Catherine, did I previously swear you in?
Oh, sorry.
You didn't? I didn't. Okay.
No, you didn't.
You can state your name and address, please.
Catherine Fee, 12 Deerfield Road, North Haven.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You can give us your comments.
Yeah, the calculations regarding the basement are on the drawings or on the plans. Where, more than 50% of our walls are underground. So we're not a 3-story building. With the mezzanine level, I think we now meet the definition of a mezzanine because we just have a walkway to this 3rd floor deck, and it's open to below, which it wasn't before. And the house to the north also has a 3rd floor deck, and the house to the south is also taller than our house. So we are below the height of that house. And that's what I wanted to say, to comment.
Okay. Well, and I want to mention something too before we adjourn it, which is I appreciate the fact that the applicant has heard the concerns of members of this board and the neighbors and is making revisions to the application. I know that takes a lot of effort. However, I also get that the neighbors are still quite unhappy. And so it did particularly just concern me that the line of communication didn't take place. I still think there's an opportunity here for the neighbors and the applicant to communicate to try to work out some of these issues. And since we're putting it over anyway, I would recommend that a conversation take place just like I recommended it before. But it's a two-way street. We can't force you to talk, but I think it could only benefit both sides for that to happen. All right. And with that, Mike, it is yours. We can't hear you, Mike.
That would be helpful. Okay, we're going to keep this open and reschedule the next hearing for February 18th.
Okay.
And we're going to be looking for some additional documents, some building department comments and things like that to be circulated amongst the board members.
Okay. Do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Brody, we're done. We're done. We're not taking more testimony. we're done. Okay.
We're done.
I just want to get copies of the drawings.
You can make that request of Madeline.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Who seconded?
Helen.
Helen.
Okay. Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
And who am I forgetting?
Mr. DeSessa?
Well, Mr. DeSessa?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Thank you all for your comments this evening. We will see you on the 18th.
Thank you.
All right, Keith, wait 1 second. I just have to invite our stenographer into the meeting.
Sure.
Charles, we're looking for Agata Davis.
Just takes a second.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. All right, Keith, go ahead. Number 14.
Number 14 is River Rock Structured Capital LLC, 186 Crescent Avenue, Watermill, Suffolk County Tax Map 900-115-1-8.
Okay, John, you want to update the board?
Using myself on this application?
Should I proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good evening. Hopefully my comments will be brief because I'm asking the board, which I think is only the appropriate thing to do, to simply incorporate by reference or bring in all the evidence and the testimony from all sides that was previously heard on this matter. As the board is aware, the board rendered a decision in this matter on August 20th, 2020. Litigation ensued, and one of the claims made by one of the objectants, who happens to be about one, well, anyway, one of the claims made by one of the objectants was there was not an appropriate referral to the County Planning Commission. It's been my position all along, and we put this in the litigation, that no referral was necessary. Particularly when you look at the intergovernmental agreement between the County Planning Commission and the town. But regardless of that fact, the town referred the matter to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has had it for about 2 months, and yesterday, the Planning Commission voted 9-3. That's a substantial vote, 9-3. This is a matter for local determination. Which means they didn't impose any conditions. One of the objectants have improperly tried to put into evidence the commission's staff report, which is in effect a nullity, because that's not an action. The only action that you have before you is a finding that the matter is appropriate for local determination. No conditions whatsoever were imposed. So that's where we are right now. I received a letter today from Toomey Latham, Ms. McGivern. I've objected throughout to her participation in these proceedings. Because her participation before the Suffolk County Planning Commission was improper. I'm not going to go over that. We put that in writing, but I did receive a letter today from Ms. McGivern, which I'm sort of scratching my head. She's saying, now that there's been a referral, and again, I've always said that none was necessary, and and she acknowledges that there was a 9-3 vote, the board should hold a new hearing to consider the matter anew and issue a new decision. Okay, you've done that, and there's been testimony. You opened up the meeting. You had testimony from Ms. McGivern before. When you opened up the meeting, she tried to push the staff report in. She may even the meeting before that, she gave testimony. The matter has been opened. It's been remained open, so that's what you're doing. So I was sort of scratching my head when I heard that. There are just a couple of things that I don't need to, that I can just address verbally in her letter. because I think the board should close this and act because, and again, first of all, Ms. McGivern says that the planning commission deemed the matter, hello? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, the planning commission deemed the matter significant. No, it didn't. The planning commission said it was a matter of local determination. So that's just correct, incorrect. Allowing each dwelling to have a GFA of 15,000, since when using the town assessor's figures of 16,768, well, that's just not what the case is. We've had testimony that there's a 15,000 square foot house as modified and per the conditions of the board. It was a calculation, it was accepted by the building department, number one. And then making the claim that the two dwellings combined exceeds the cap of 15,000 square feet. There's nothing in the town code that says you take an accessory habitable space and graft that on to the maximum gross floor area. I just don't understand why they would be reckless enough to make that claim, because Mr. Schwarzman's house, Steve Schwarzman's house, who's about, what did we say, about 900 feet away across the water, and we've made our standings argument, has a 15,000 square foot house and a carriage house. So it would be in violation of Toomey Latham's own tortured statutory interpretation. Nothing in the code. There are some codes that grafted. The Village of Southampton code, for example, has a GFA, and then it says you have to add into it accessory structures. I believe there's some other municipalities like that. Southampton doesn't have it. So that's just a specious claim in the letter. And again, I want to just respond to these orally because I want the board to close it. I think the board should close it. As construction of this flood-prone property, this is one that's baffled me from the get-go. There was 1,600 square feet of improvement in the prior the combination of the studio and the cottage, and all of that was at grade. So if somebody was truly concerned, and by the way, there was a 7,000 square foot house which was at grade. So if somebody was truly concerned about construction in the flood zone, why would that person be concerned? Wouldn't that person be happy that these structures, a 7,000 square foot house and 1,600 square feet of improvements, which is just, you know, that's what's going to be, is actually built now, 16 to 16. Why wouldn't somebody be happy that those structures now conform to the FEMA requirements? They're elevated to the base flood elevation +2. So during a flood event, unlike the prior improvements, they're not going to become subject to wave action or flood action because the water will go underneath it, as opposed to about 9,000 square feet, 8,000 square feet of previous improvements that were at grade. And if the models are right, during a significant flood event would have become, had an impact upon the adjoining properties, not only of Mr. Schwarzman, but the neighbor to the north. So again, I just don't, this is just, they're making claims, but the claims don't make any sense in terms of the regulations. We're making a much better thing happen here. And again, those septic systems that were there before were essentially bleeding wastewater into Mecox Bay. Now you have a conforming septic system and an IA system. No drainage, you have it all. And again, these are, there's nothing that's changed. None of the facts have changed that led you to your well-reasoned, you know, very, very, very studied, elaborate opinion granting these variances. There's nothing that has changed. The only thing that has changed is that the Planning Commission has said this is a matter for local determination, number one. And number two, in addition to that, as we've demonstrated, The applicant has spent another 1.3, 1.4, $1.5 million in reliance on an unrevoked building permit, a conservation board approval, which was recently, the original one was extended, and this board's grant, thankfully of the relief that's necessary. The density was there. There were 2 units there. But we decided not to rely on that and bought a development right to the tune of about $260,000 in the Southampton School District. This has been a very long, protracted process. This board, I think, has, as a result of modifications that have been offered and conditions that have been put in the application, come to a very fine, fair, equitable solution. I simply don't understand how Ms. McGivern's clients, one of whom, Mr. Schwarzman, who is about 600, 700, 800 feet across the body of water, is at all harmed by this. Because he has the same development. This is the typical, unfortunate Hamptons, I can have it, but you can't. And then the Halsey Storch client to the east, sort of again scratching my head at her comments at the Planning Commission, and the comments at this board. Oh, this is a 15,000 square foot house. How can you allow this sort of development? Well, it's a conforming house, and she has 2 lots that could be improved with each with a 15,000 square foot house, a tennis court, a pool house, a garage, and a pool. So you have to wonder what the crocodile tears are here. I don't understand it. I think we worked really, really, really hard with the board. There's nothing has changed that would suggest that you should do anything other than, if you feel necessary, just either affirm your opinion or give a new opinion, whatever. I have never thought, based upon my reading of the intergovernmental agreement, that you had to refer this. I assume the board and council thought just belt and suspenders, I guess, from, caution to do it. So now we've done that. It took longer than usual. I'd never seen the Planning Commission in my how many years of doing this work out here since 1988 do anything on a single family residence other than have it for local determination, and that's what they did. So nothing the Planning Commission did at all upsets your fine logic and fine, well-reasoned and supported opinion that you made back in August. So construction is underway, is continuing. The carriage house is fully completed. We're about 70% done on the house. And, there never been a building permit revoked, never been any order from any agency or board stopping construction. There have been no permits revoked. We're here and we beg you just to let us be done with this and move on. There's been no findings of bad faith. There were some mistakes made by the building inspector and some mistakes made by the applicant, but there was, as the board previously found, good faith reliance, and there's nothing to suggest otherwise. So I would just ask you to adhere to your original decision, because nothing has changed other than our case has gotten better because we've continued, as it was our right, to build in good faith reliance on all the approvals. And I don't have anything to say. Am I forgetting anything, Bailey? I don't have anything to say other than I would just reserve my right to comment if Ms. McGivern, after Ms. McGivern's comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Joan, just need you to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. There you go.
Thank you. I know it's late, so I will try to be brief, but obviously we disagree with Mr. Bennett. Our reading of the law is different. We think once the referral occurred, you didn't have jurisdiction to begin with, because the referral occurred and you need to hold a new hearing. You can't have a subsequent vote and retroactively cure the jurisdictional defect. And in order to have a new hearing, you have to do it on notice. So we urge you, for procedural reasons, to consider having a new hearing, and as part of that, to consider the Suffolk County staff report, which, as you may know, if you had read our letter, came out and advised against the 5 carriage house variances. We understand that it was determined to be part of a local determination, but it's still part of the record for you to consider. We also believe you should give the Conservation Board time to hold its hearing in March. They applied for a new wetlands permit a year after they were asked to do it just recently. And that permit is based on 2018 information that hasn't been updated. That information includes building a house of 11,000 square feet, which they haven't done. They built a house that's probably a third larger. And it was based on information of building a cottage of 559 square feet. They built a cottage that's 4 times larger. So I beg to defer with Mr. Bennett on the fact that he claims to have a valid wetlands permit. And also, we believe that if you gave time to consider it, the original decision has some problematic precedents that you may wish to reconsider. And again, the board should do this for procedural reasons, because based on the second department case of Fischera, as I said before, a subsequent vote can't retroactively cure the jurisdictional defect that you had in failing to make the referral to begin with. We also think the board should be aware that the applicant hasn't necessarily complied with its decision, because its decision didn't necessarily greenlight construction. It granted relief subject to acquiring other final approval and other permits. Notwithstanding that warning, they've not only been engaging in construction on what we consider to be an invalid building permit. The building permit was denied renewal twice, once November 2019 and again January 2020. They've also been living in the cottage without a CO for the past 16 months. And to summarize, in addition to their having no valid building permit, and I say this because you can't have a valid building permit without having a valid wetlands permit. And they don't have a valid wetlands permit and won't have one until at least the hearing on March 10th. There's also, despite claims that there was a transfer of development right, there's no record of it anywhere that we've seen based on our FOIA requests. They also need a gross floor area variance. And our reading of the code differs from John's, and we just agree to disagree on this. It's a matter of statutory construction. We believe that it refers to 1 and 2 family detached dwellings, and the cap applies to two family dwellings if they're detached. So that would be, you add the 2 together to get the $15,000 square foot cap. We also note that they still need a front yard variance for the 150-foot long cement wall, which, though they've reduced it, it still has a 30-inch drop, and under New York Building Code, you need to add a 3-foot rail. So it takes it up over the 4-foot limit for a front yard fence. And as I mentioned before, they also need a certificate of occupancy for the carriage house that's been occupied for the past 16 months. And then in addition, I mentioned that the ZBA decision didn't necessarily grant all the variances that are required. Besides the GFA and the front yard fence, there's no record of the TDR, and the carriage house needed a rear yard setback to remain at 23.4 feet, where you need a 50-foot setback. In addition, there are troubling precedents that the board has set with its decision that it may wish to reconsider if it were to have a rehearing, including permitting a carriage house to remain in a 2.2 acre zone where 3 acres are required. And again, allowing a dwelling of over 15,000 square feet without considering the GFA cap. Permitting such intense development, including allowing a dwelling to be 10 feet from Mecox Bay and its wetlands. And again, the use and occupancy of the carriage house for the past 16 months. And then I know John has made much of the fact that the houses have been raised above grade, but the fact remains that this is the one property in the area that's in a VE 13 zone, which means it's more likely to flood. And with regard to the septic system, they have a traditional septic system for the 9 or 14 bedroom house, which according to our environmental expert, whose testimony wasn't rebutted, it's going to fail within a month, 7 months to a year of it going into operation. And the IA system is for the carriage house, which was permitted under the 2018 permit that had not been amended to say that it was for 8 to 10 weeks seasonal use. Well, they've been living there full time, so it's obviously not a seasonal use house as provided in the 2018 permit. So with that, I'm sure Mr. Bennett will disagree with a lot of that, and that's fine. But we would urge you to hold a new hearing on notice to all the neighbors and move forward.
Okay, thank you, Joan. John, do you want to respond? We just can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Every single thing that Ms. McGivern put in her statement is just reiteration of prior things that has all been dealt with. We've responded to every one of those things. Most of them, I mean, the real problem throughout has been that, Toomey Latham and their experts, and who's the architect? Rick Stott. What they've done is they've created their own interpretations of the code and then criticize you for not granting relief of the code provisions as they've interpreted them, despite the fact that the building inspector has agreed with all the interpretations in terms of size, in terms of yards, in terms of heights of retaining walls, all of that stuff. So again, this stuff is all in the record. So I'm not going to belabor any of this stuff. I'm scratching my head. Should hold a new hearing. Gee, I thought that's what we were doing, and it was on notice. And indeed, there were people that came in the past, and you don't have a bar because it's been for local determination now. I just, and Ms. Garvin is very, very familiar with these cases. It's the Knight versus Amelkin case and its progeny in East Hampton, the Rickenback case. It would be, and again, wow, it's really hard to tell a board or a judge that really holds your clients life in their hands, that they can or can't do something because you're a fear that they're gonna say, oh, you don't think I can do it, I'll show you I can do it. But there is that line of cases which says that if there's been no change or it's the exact same, very similar case, it's very, very difficult to go the other way. There's been no change in the facts here. The only change in the facts is that my client has continued in reliance on permits. And by the way, that's really, really, really misrepresentation. There's a current valid building permit on the property. So, the first time we went in to renew it, this is what anybody who's tried to build as much as a shed would realize. You go into the building department and the people at the front desk say, well, you don't have this, you don't have the solder certificate, whatever it is, you don't have. So yeah, there was an attempt maybe to renew it, but then it was finally renewed and there's a valid building permit there. What does that have to do with anything? The fact that there was some missing data beforehand or some missing form. I mean, that's all this stuff blown out of proportion. Oh, such an evil thing. He tried 2 times to get the building permit.
Fine. Could you stop the rudeness?
Helen, I'm not being.
I think that the way you speak about Joan is really unnecessary, and what she has said. You just be specific.
Close it.
Don't have to.
I'm being.
No. You're very condescending to her, and that's not necessary. She wasn't condescending to you. She's always been polite. It's just the facts. Just keep it to the facts without the comments.
I was keeping it to the facts, and I was saying, Helen.
Helen,
if you could, I don't have anything else to say.
And I didn't think we were going to hear it again today, and we are hearing that.
I don't have anything else to say. I don't have anything else to say, Helen. I'm sorry if I offended your sensibilities, and I mean that.
I'm not the only one. I am not the only one who feels.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I just want to make sure before anything else that there isn't anyone else who's waiting to be heard in connection with the application of River Rock Structured Capital LLC. Just want to make sure. No any hands?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So whoever would like to be heard, this would be the time to raise your hand to let us know.
Okay, here we go. Deborah.
Okay.
Let's put your video on.
Hey. Okay. Good evening, Deborah. Did I previously swear you in?
I'm an attorney, so.
You're an attorney, so I don't have to swear you in. Okay.
Great, yes. Good evening. I'm Deborah Turan from Matthews, Kirsten Cooley. I've spoken before to this board on this matter very briefly, filling in for David Kirst, who I think originally appeared on this application. We represent Sunbeam House LLC and Moonbeam House LLC, which are adjacent neighbors to River Rock. So I'm not sure which way the board is tending to go at this point, whether renoticing and having a whole new hearing or, simply reissuing some kind of determination. But in any event, we would have to agree with Mr. Bennett. If you do just move forward without a new hearing, we just wish that all of our prior objections and prior arguments are incorporated therein. And we just wanted to reiterate those tonight. We had previously objected to kind of this strange procedure of reopening the record to begin with. So just want to put that out there as well. But now that we are outside of those bounds and in this kind of new territory, we just ask that our prior record be incorporated.
Yep, and I agree with that. Any decision will incorporate all of the hearings, all of the testimony, all of the evidence, all of the written submissions. And then the procedure will play out the way that it does.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. If not, I had the lead and at the outset on the application of River Rock. I would move that at this time, as Katie just indicated, this our action is based on the entirety of the public hearing record, and I would move that we close the application at this time for decision momentarily.
Second.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Did I get everybody?
And And Brian has recused
And
himself.
Brian has accused himself. Okay. Okay. All right. So I have a decision in the matter of the application of River Rock Structured Capital LLC. This is for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map Number 900-115-18. Well, a much longer decision will be filed in the town clerk's office next week. This is what I'm reading is basically paraphrasing what will be the decision that is being rendered tonight. This application is for property located at 186 Crescent Avenue, Watermill. As the board recalls, applicant here seeks variances to address construction on the premises as it relates to the main dwelling, tennis court, and lot coverage, and also to convert a cottage into a carriage house or alternative relief. This is a type 2 action pursuant to SECRA and a matter deemed to be of local determination by the Suffolk County Planning Commission. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, and for the reasons set forth herein, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1, for the 2-story dwelling under construction. 1-330-11 Residential Districts Table of Dimensional Regulations to allow the height of the dwelling to be 44.6 feet where a maximum of 42 feet is permitted. 2-330-11 for a total lot coverage of 14.4% where a maximum of 10% is required. And 3-330-83K yards for a principal front yard setback from the easterly property line, David's Lane, Crescent Avenue, of 38.1 feet where 40 feet is permitted. And 2, to legalize the location of the tennis court, 330-11 for an accessory side yard setback of 28.5 feet where 30 feet is required. Town Code 330-76T, placement of accessory buildings, structures, and uses in all districts, and Town Code 330-83C, yards, to allow the tennis court to remain within a required side yard for the principal building, so long as the tennis court's dimensions are reduced to 55 feet by 110 feet. This board also grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code to allow the existing cottage to be converted into a carriage house. 1, 339D4, density incentive provisions, to permit a carriage house on a lot where the property size is less than 3 acres. 2, 339D4B, to permit a carriage house on a lot where the principal dwelling does not comply with all applicable dimensional requirements of the code, to wit, a height of 44.6 feet where a maximum of 42 feet is permitted, and a principal front yard setback from the easterly property line, David's Lane, Crescent Avenue, of 38.1 feet where 40 feet is permitted, and 339D4C, to allow the carriage house to remain at a front yard setback of 19.1 feet from the westerly lot line, Mud Creek, where a carriage house shall have a front yard setback of at least 10 feet greater than the principal dwelling setback, and to remain at a setback of 23.4 feet where 30 feet is required. The granting of these variances are for structures as shown on the site plan prepared by Squires, Holden, Weisenbacher, and Smith, last revised on March 12, 2020, architectural plans for the main house prepared by Val Florio Architect, PLLC, dated July 2nd, 2019, and the architectural plans for the carriage house prepared by Val Florio Architect, PLLC, last revised on May 2nd, 2019. Any revisions to the plans or surveys to show compliance with the town code and conditions of this decision will not require an amendment to this decision. Grant to the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval of the subject premises, including but not limited to the bringing in of the required development rights / PBC pursuant to Town Code 339D4 and the securing of permits / modifications / renewals of wetlands permits and sign-offs prior to the issuance of any certificate of compliance / occupancy. This decision hereby supersedes and replaces ZBA decision number D020079 dated August 20th, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Tuthill.
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
No.
Chair votes aye. Okay.
Thank
all
you.
for your
And I
comments.
will send everybody an unofficial, I'll send you all an unofficial version tomorrow, and then it'll be filed in the town clerk's office.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you,
Good
everyone.
evening, everybody. Thank you all for your comments and your participation.
Adam has one more decision.
I do. So I have one more decision. I don't know if Brian's going to come back on, but anyway, I have one more decision, which is for the application of Flying Point Sands LLC. This is for property located at Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-178-214. This application is for property located at 1131 Flying Point Road, Watermill. Applicant seeks variances for the reconstruction of a dwelling and deck located 58.8 feet landward of the crest of dune in the adjacent area. This setback was increased 5 feet at the recommendation of the board. This application passes the standards set forth in New York State Town Law and the Town Code. Therefore, this board grants relief from the following provisions of the Town Code. 1. 138-17C, non-conforming buildings or structures, to allow for the reconstruction of a building located seaward of the coastal erosion hazard line. 2. 330-46.5C1, non-conforming buildings and structures, to allow for the reconstruction of a dwelling that was not destroyed or substantially damaged from accidental cause. And 3. 330-46.2B4, adjacent areas, to allow for the reconstruction of a building and deck located 58.8 feet landward of the crest of the dune, where 120 feet is required. All for structures is shown on the plans prepared by William P. Minier, AIA architect, last dated January 14, 2021, and survey prepared by Robert A. Smith of Squires Holden, Weissenbacher and Smith, surveyed August 26, 2019, last revised January 7, 2021. Grant of the foregoing relief is subject to such other conditions and permits as applicant has already acquired or may otherwise have to acquire for final approval, including the submission and implementation of a dune restoration plan as may be required by the Town Code.
Second.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Burgess.
No.
Mr. Tudhill.
Aye.
Mr. Hahn.
Aye.
Mr. Daly.
No.
Chair votes aye. I'm not sure whether Brian is here. I don't think he is.
He's not here.
He's not. Okay. All right. I think we're done.
Done.
Okay. Very good. Well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
Good
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Candace. Thank you,
Night.
Charles.
Good night.